All right, everyone, a good evening to those of you over on our YouTube platform. I am Nick Dunn here. We're going to do some long-form severe weather coverage this evening, and have to bear with us here for just a little bit as we kind of get some things going here this evening. We are going to be getting our Facebook audience here going up shortly, but I just wanted to kind of get... we've not done a live severe weather event coverage on YouTube for quite some time here, so I thought that... we would come on here for a little while and, just kind of help cover things this evening for a little bit. I hope everybody's having a good evening so far. We do have numerous severe thunderstorm warnings right now. We do have one tornado warning in northwestern Pennsylvania as well that we will talk about here as well. Alright, so we're going to be getting a push notification out to all of our app users here on YouTube, and then we're going to get our Facebook audience in here as well. Definitely some very intense weather happening across parts of the Ohio Valley and Great Lakes region this evening. We will be getting things kind of going here in just a moment. I'm just getting our Facebook audience brought in here, but we do have a plethora of severe thunderstorm warnings right now across Ohio, a couple in Indiana, also into a couple of our northwestern Pennsylvania counties. So we're going to talk about it all here coming up. So give us just a couple of minutes here. We will get this going. Okay. We've had numerous reports of damage coming in out of the Fort Wayne area as well, so we'll talk about some of that. All right, we're going to go get our Facebook Live coverage started here, and then we will kind of get going here. Appreciate your patience. All right, everyone, a good evening to you. I'm Nick Dunn here with a severe weather update for you, continuing ongoing severe weather coverage this evening, kind of picking up where meteorologist Mike Joyce left off with us here this evening. We do have a plethora of severe thunderstorm warnings this evening across a good portion of the Bell Park Weather Network coverage area. So as we continue to kind of go along here this evening, we will just kind of stay on here as needed through the evening hours as we're tracking some fairly substantial thunderstorm development across the area this evening. First area we are going to start off with this evening is going to be across portions of Van Wert County, Mercer County, Auglaize County, Logan County, Shelby County, Allen County, and even into Hardin County as well. However, we're going to have to change views here now because we have a destructive severe thunderstorm warning that has just been issued now for portions of Geauga, Ashtabula, and Lake counties. This is certainly not something that we were necessarily expecting today, but we are... Give me just 1 second. We definitely have a destructive severe thunderstorm warning now issued for portions of northeastern Ohio, so we're going to kind of stay in this spot here for just a couple of moments here. I'm going to try to get Owen Fritz on with us as well to kind of help us walk through what we are seeing out there this evening, because again, we've got a plethora of rather nasty warnings out there this evening. And we do have a severe thunderstorm warning for winds up to 80 miles per hour. This means that it is tagged as destructive, and this means that significant damage is possible. So this is going to include places of western Ashtabula County, most of Lake County here, east of Mentor, and also northern Geauga County, north of Chardon. Now, I understand that there's also a separate severe thunderstorm warning kind of superseding this that's kind of in place right now, but this warning goes until 7:15. Let's see here. Okay. So again, right now we're kind of keeping a pretty close eye on this area. Let's go over to velocity real quick here to kind of give us a better look at things. And I'm not seeing anything on velocity that would kind of give us a key that there's anything that significant going on here. However, we are going to, the Weather Service in Cleveland has, necessarily went ahead and issued a separate warning here. And this is going to be for Paynesville, North Madison, Perry, Fairport Harbor. And again, this is a separate severe thunderstorm warning, kind of zoning right in on these areas. And this is because the Weather Service in Cleveland is now thinking that we are going to see the potential for destructive winds up to 70 and 80 miles per hour. And that looks like it's coming straight from the Fairport Harbor. Yeah, and Mark, that's a good point. Our forecaster, Mark Spencer, just kind of pointed that out. Likely just seeing some really nasty winds there. So we are going to kind of stay on here with this in this particular spot. But real quick, before we come back to that, I do want to point out that we have a plethora of severe thunderstorm warnings stretching from Erie, Pennsylvania, all the way through Strongsville, Ohio. Another severe thunderstorm warning into portions of Bowling Green and Sandusky over to Fremont. And then another couple of severe thunderstorm warnings here as well. And this is going to be for the Lima area in particular. Just to kind of point out, we are seeing now a 2-inch hail marker on the cell here in Lima right now. So we're kind of watching things pretty closely here. And I did let Mike Joyce know that he could toss to me now at this point if he wants to end his broadcast at this point in time. We're going to kind of pick up where he left off, and we'll kind of go from there. So that's kind of where we're kind of watching things at the moment. So let's go into Lima real quick, because the east side of Lima, there is a pretty good signal of some very large hail just to the south of Lafayette. That's going to be near 309. Let's get some of our other roads on here too, so you can kind of see this exact spot that we're talking about. Again, it's in between Lafayette and Harrod. This is going to be 309. There's Ohio Route 81. This is 117. So this is going to kind of be east of the Procter & Gamble facility there in Lima. And again, this storm looks like it's producing some relatively large hail. So we kind of have two different significant storms, if you will, kind of ongoing. Okay, we have the one here in Lima, which could be producing hail up to 2 inches in diameter. And then on top of that, we are watching a destructive severe thunderstorm, which we're going to kind of zoom back into now for the Fairport Harbor area. Again, Mike Joyce was kind of showing some video just a little bit ago that, kind of took my breath away a little bit too, kind of watching some of that, because those were some very intense winds. So if you live in Paynesville, Perry, North Madison, there towards Geneva or Geneva on the Lake, I would treat this now as a tornado warning. And the reason why I say that is we have winds up to 80 miles per hour. That is certainly something a little bit on the concerning side. We don't normally see these type of warnings in Ohio. So when we start to see these type of things, it certainly is a little bit concerning to me that we do have some very substantial weather going on. And so again, the Weather Service has tagged this destructive, which means that you also got the warning on your cell phone devices. So if you live in Lake County, Geauga County, Ashtabula County, kind of treat this as a tornado warning. These severe thunderstorm warnings go all the way up into Erie, Pennsylvania as well. So we're kind of watching these two areas along this entire line. This would kind of be what we classify as a mesoscale convective system, or an MCS. And these storms have a history of producing strong winds and definitely some hail, but certainly now the wind is kind of taking precedence. And again, we go back to velocity, we're not seeing anything here. But again, there was some very impressive video just a short while ago coming in off of Fairport Harbor that was very indicative. And we go back to the reflectivity, or how hard it's raining mode now, and you can kind of see what is going on in that particular spot right there. So this is kind of crossing I-90 as it stands right now. And we have another warning now for Hancock County. That's going to be for the Lima storm that has the potential of producing some golf ball size hail. So again, if you're in western Ashtabula County, around Geneva to Geneva on the Lake, and west towards Paynesville, and down into areas just to north of Chardon, you need to be in a safe place. You need to be in that tornado safe place. I know it's not a tornado warning, but that's a destructive severe thunderstorm warning for winds up to 80 miles per hour. That goes until 7:15. let's hop back to the Lima area real quick. I know we have a lot of warnings to talk about and a lot of things going on. So first of all, the Findlay area is now under a severe thunderstorm warning for golf ball size hail and winds to 60 miles per hour. So I am monitoring our Findlay Skycam very closely, and I'm going to be kind of be panning that over in that direction here so we can kind of see what is going on. So I'm going to kind of work to get that moved, and then I'll try to get that up on the live stream here shortly if we can as well. But yeah, we're kind of watching a couple different spots right now, again, for that potential of where we could be seeing some of those really intense winds. And I've got the Findlay Skycam set, so we'll bring that full here shortly, and we'll kind of alternate between the two. But certainly a plethora of severe thunderstorm warnings here for Van Wert County until 6:45 for winds up to 70 miles per hour. A severe thunderstorm warning for Mercer and western Auglaize, west of Wapakoneta, until 7 o'clock. A severe thunderstorm warning for basically Wapakoneta and points east. And this storm has been really interesting because it kind of split, and now the northern split is taking that turn northeast into Hancock County. Definitely indicative of where we could be seeing, some of that potential for, some of that really larger hail to be falling. And that's kind of where things are right now. So we're watching things there pretty closely for us. If you live in the Findlay area, that cell was just warned for the potential of seeing some golf ball size hail. And we just got another new warning now for Auglaize, Hardin, Logan, and Shelby for ping pong ball size hail. So that's going to be the southern warning, again, for the Wapakoneta area in particular, and if you live over around Indian Lake. So we've got kind of a handful of things going on here. An additional severe thunderstorm warning, which I will say looks a little weaker, but this is for Wood County, Ottawa County, and Sandusky County until 7:15. Again, the threat there for some 60-mile-per-hour wind gusts and potentially some hail. So a couple different areas of concern that definitely have our attention right now. And now if you live here towards Indian Lake and Kenton, again, this is now warned for ping pong ball size hail, as we've seen at least one report of hail in Wapakoneta. And I will say I've got a little bit of a better picture that I'll try to share a little later from the Wapak area that is indicative of some decent size hail. And I will say we'll pull up the Findlay Skycam here momentarily so you can kind of get an idea of what that cell to the southwest there looking towards Lima looks like. But I want to go back to our destructive severe thunderstorm warning really quickly up here in northeastern Ohio for the Paynesville area, just kind of give you an update. Again, this storm here has a history of producing intense winds right along the lakeshore, so I cannot stress it enough. If you're in this warning, you've got to take it seriously, and you need to be moving indoors, getting away from windows, and just kind of acting as if this were a tornado warning at this particular point in time. So again, it's right along I-90, US 20. This is also going to be right here along the lake shores of Lake Erie. So you're seeing where also some of these purples are. This is not necessarily hail, although it could be, but we have some really intense rain falling. I'm also going to look at some of our, a couple of our Ohio Department of Transportation cameras as well. Looking at a couple of other comments here. Getting a half-inch hail there at exit 113 and 75. Thanks, Camille, for that report. I appreciate it. That might correspond with that half-inch hail report that we just saw from the Wapakoneta area. I'm going to kind of take a quick look in northeast Ohio at a couple of these ODOT cameras if they can populate here. And yeah, that looks pretty nasty. Definitely very poor visibility. You really should not be out driving along I-90 right now. I understand that obviously it's a certain time of the day, and we probably have a lot of folks out there driving right now. But if you live in that Paynesville, North Madison area, really nasty storm ongoing. And for those of you that are watching across northwestern Pennsylvania, this line of storms coming into your area as well. A plethora of severe thunderstorm warnings for Erie County, Crawford County as well. And then another severe thunderstorm warning here towards Warren County, Pennsylvania for some larger hail. This storm has a history of rotation. It is isolated and ahead of the line, so we'll continue to monitor that as well. So kind of bouncing back and forth for you. We'll take you now back to the Lima area because, again, we have a cluster of intense thunderstorms here. And what I want to do now is it'll take me a second to get it popped up for both our Facebook and our YouTube side. And I see now for some reason, let's see if I can get this adjusted here. I apologize about that. Okay, let's see if I can get this adjusted over to our camera network here. There we go. So what you're seeing now on the Facebook side is you're now looking from Findlay to the southwest right now. And I'll pull that up before us over on the YouTube side here as well. Bear with me for just a moment while we do that. Again, a pretty nasty looking thunderstorm there. We definitely want you to be in that safe spot right now if you can do so safely. And there now on the YouTube side as well, you should be able to see, again, we're looking kind of a southwest there from our weather network camera there in Findlay. And you can see that is looking towards the storm that is in the Ada area. I'm going to turn off that mesocyclone indicator, but kind of zooming in on this particular storm right on the Allen-Hardin County line right now. If you're in Ada over towards Alger, this is a really nasty thunderstorm. This is not something that you want to necessarily mess with. This is not something you want to take lightly. And so Findlay, Arlington, Rawson, if you have a little bit of time right now and you have that ability to get your car in the garage, I would definitely recommend doing so. I just got a picture in here from Lima as well, definitely showing at least quarter-size hail, if not maybe a little bit larger in some spots. So we certainly need to kind of keep a pretty close eye on things there. Let's see if Owen has joined me here yet. Not yet. Okay. I'm going to share this around to a couple of places as well here this evening. Again, we're watching some pretty intense weather ongoing right now across both northwestern Ohio, and we're also watching that, again, that really intense thunderstorm warning there in northeastern Ohio as well. We're going to bounce back to that one here in just a couple of moments. Getting a storm track on these, especially here around Lima, is going to be difficult. I want to put the radar into motion so you can kind of see the opposite storm motion. See how this cell here near the one that's heading towards Findlay, look at the direction on that. Moving north-northeast. The cell here in southeastern Auglaize County kind of moving east-northeast. And meanwhile, the storms coming out of Van Wert are kind of moving southeast. So we certainly have a plethora of storm motions ongoing. And if you live in this area, you're likely going to be seeing, some rather significant weather here for a little while. Looks like another new severe thunderstorm warning just came in for Allen County, Ohio, and Van Wert County, Ohio. So this is going to include now the city of Lima for winds up to 70 miles per hour. And it looks like we just got a report of a person trapped in Van Wert County. One person is trapped, one injured. That's coming from the Emergency Management Agency. So again, this really just kind of hits home the fact that you've got to be taking precautions. You've got to be getting to that safe spot if you have a warning issued for your area. And if you are watching us as well, the Bell Park Weather Network app is a great resource. Kind of watching that here as well. I'm not sure if the audio is working. It should be. Based on what I thought, I believe it's working. Let's see here. Okay, looks like we're okay still. I apologize if there was a brief loss there, but kind of keeping a pretty close eye on things here for you again. So with this report now coming in out of Van Wert County of an injury and a person trapped, again, just kind of hits home the fact that we've got to be getting to that safe spot. I cannot stress that enough how important it is, because if you're not getting there and you're not taking shelter, you could be putting yourself in danger. So just, for a few minutes tonight, let's just kind of take shelter and kind of move indoors and wait for these storms to pass by. I do want to stress we do not have an active tornado warning anywhere right now, but we do have some intense thunderstorm warnings, some intense severe thunderstorm warnings ongoing. Let's take you back up to our destructive severe thunderstorm warning now. Kind of keeping an eye on this one again for us up here across parts of Ashtabula County and Lake County and Geauga County. And I think I have Owen with us. Owen, can you hear me okay?
Yes, I can. Good evening to you, Nick.
And good evening. And I'll let you kind of let's kind of focus back in on our destructive severe thunderstorm warning. This is not something that we see very common here in the Buckeye State.
No, especially, we're focusing on energy coming off the lake, that destructive severe thunderstorm warning. That's something we don't see very often. So anybody that's kind of along that lake shore, the bulk of that's getting ready to cross in. Over in Geauga County, you're already getting it, but some of that stuff on the backside, Lorain County and Cuyahoga County as well, have to keep a close eye on that because you're starting to get some really strong wind gusts there as well. So kind of looking over some things here. I know we got a lot going on. I don't have enough screens today to look at all the different areas, but kind of focusing our efforts in on kind of what we think is the most severe to maybe the least, I wouldn't say severe criteria, but the most impactful to the least impactful. Obviously, we start up here in Cleveland, which is one of the bigger or most impactful storms that we're having, and it goes until 7 o'clock. So we're continuing to monitor that. I mean, with the wind gusts up to 70 miles an hour in the one warning, and then issuing that kind of that sub warning until 7:15. That one is pretty interesting when they use that word destructive. So 80-mile-an-hour wind gusts are possible in with that as well. So we're watching that as well. And then also back in Lorain County and Cuyahoga County, you can kind of see there that we're looking um, at some pretty strong winds as well. They got that going clocked up to 70 miles an hour. The one over Sandusky County and that one for Ottawa County, Wood County. I mean, I'm here. It's just approaching my doorstep, and it's really fizzled out. So I would probably say that one's going to expire or be allowed to expire early or expire on time. However, Nick, I do want to point out some things down near Bellefontaine. So if we make our way down towards Findlay and just south of Lima, we are watching some stuff near Russell's Point. It's a little bit of some rotation starting to pop up there, a normalized rotation. So we're keeping a close eye on that. It's got a 1-inch hail marker right now, but just outside of Wapakoneta, we're looking at that. Very broad at this point, but we're continuing to keep an eye on that. That's one of the areas that keeps popping up in my brain, or on my screen, I should say, not brain, but continuing to look at that area as well. So that's one of the areas I'm continuing to keep a very close eye on. But as you can tell, it's like Plinko a little bit today. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 severe thunderstorm warnings here covering the Lima area in Hancock County, Putnam County, Allen, all the way over Auglaize and Mercer County. So we're watching that as well. I think the biggest story today is obviously the destructive winds coming in over the lake, but also large hail. One of the things that we're continuing to see in some of these spots that have large hail, we're looking at correlation coefficient, things that not necessarily supposed to be there. It is picking up on some hail markers. I've been watching that here throughout the last hour or so in some of these particular storms. So it is very valid for some of this hail threat that we're seeing. I know my meteorologist Mike Joyce was on a little bit ago, and he was talking about some of the same things. So when we look at these type of storms, we don't want to treat them any less than a tornado warning. We want to make sure that we get inside and away from windows, because if we have winds, for example, over in the Cleveland area of 80 miles an hour and it blows out the windows, that's a pretty good wind gust, and it could do some damage. And you got to remember, straight line wind damage can be as destructive, if not more destructive, than a low class or low EF 0 or 1 tornado. So that's something you got to keep in mind as well. It can be just as destructive. So you want to keep that in mind as well as we continue here through the afternoon hours. Make sure you're getting to that spot inside, not necessarily having to get to the basement or the lowest level of your house, but you should be prepared to do so in case they were to issue a tornado warning. There is just enough shear in the atmosphere today that we could see a few tornado warnings throughout the afternoon. We'll have to watch this as it comes ahead and gets into some of this energy out ahead of this. So we're continuing to keep an eye on everything. And Nick, I'm here with you, and we're kind of just riding this out, and let you catch your breath there for a minute. I think you got the Findlay Skycam open.
I do,
and we're gonna take a look at that, and I'll toss it back over to you for just a few minutes.
I appreciate that. Yeah, so just to kind of recap for you again, I know we do have one injury confirmed, and I'm not sure if this is also technically two people or the same person, but in Van Wert County, one person is trapped and one is injured, and I'm not sure if that's the same person or if it's two different people, but these storms are serious, folks. I understand that, some spots may not be getting a whole lot, and, other spots are obviously getting hit pretty hard, and really kind of zooming it out for you across northeastern Ohio now. And again, let's kind of bounce back and forth here for a little bit. So they continued the destructive severe thunderstorm warning for Ashtabula, Lake, and Geauga, no surprise. They continue what we call considerable severe thunderstorm warning for winds up to 70 miles per hour, essentially from, if you want to call it, Dunkirk, New York, all the way back to Lorain, Ohio. And there's now a rather large severe thunderstorm warning for most of the oil region. So I've got that page up and going as well this evening. So really, Northwest PA, Northeast Ohio, folks, this is a really nasty line of storms. We have seen some video this evening out of the Fairport Harbor area of what looked, really, really, really intense. And now just a report now coming in from Fairport Harbor that there is widespread tree damage. So this is one of the reasons that they issued this destructive severe thunderstorm warning that includes still North Madison and Perry. We will see if they issue another one of those or if they decide to upgrade one of the existing ones to destructive. But just kind of reset your bearings a little bit again. Okay, we have what we call an MCS, or a mesoscale convective system, across now entering northeast Ohio in northwestern Pennsylvania. And if your travels take you further north than that, they're also issuing warnings into New York. So this is an unbroken line of severe thunderstorm warnings. And what you can expect with this is coming onshore. You're going to get some intense winds, 60, 70, even up to 80 miles per hour. We've had reports of injuries, reports of at least one person trapped. So you've got to take these storms seriously. And I hope that in itself is enough to kind of hopefully get your mind, okay, when these warnings are issued, it's time to move indoors and it's time to take shelter. So let's jump back down to the Russell's Point area. And Owen, I saw your message there, kind of jumping back in and looking at that. Boy, I hope nobody's on Indian Lake. That is coming right over the lake right now on US 33 there at, I believe this can be 720 and 235 north there. So, yeah, that's a nasty looking thunderstorm right now. And
just kind of looking at some things, Nick, too. Just kind of continuing to zone in there near Russell's Point. It's broad, but if you're looking there on the storm relative velocity, which subtracts the motion of the storm, there is getting some rotation there, and trying to kind of figure out the correlation coefficient a little bit. That could be due to some pretty decent hail. But nevertheless, strong winds are expected here with this one. So we'll have to keep a very, very close eye on this over the next few minutes and see what decides to happen. If there's any signs of rotation that I'm seeing thus far today, this is one of the stronger ones besides the tornado warnings that we had earlier. So this is what's got my eyes popped out here, especially as this continues to push east. And one of the things here, as we're looking at these storms, again, it's got a 1-inch hail marker on it. And it's moving east at about 40 miles an hour, so it's moving at a pretty good clip. So we'll continue to keep an eye on that as well. I'm thinking that's what we're seeing is probably verifying the hail and correlation coefficient at the moment. So probably seeing that. So if you're in Russell's Point or points out ahead of this, even up towards Kenton and now those areas, kind of a heads up to you, seeing some really deep hail cores there with this particular storm, along with some broad rotation that we're going to keep a very close eye on. As it continues to move forward. The latest scan, normalized rotation kind of fanned out just a little bit, which is a good thing. But we're keeping an eye on that one as well. Nevertheless, again, the hail's kind of the bigger threat today, as we've seen that release from the National Weather Service and the Storm Prediction Center earlier. We are getting some verified reports of hail now in the town of Ada. They're saying, according to MPing, we were getting some, what do we got, 2 miles southeast of Ada. They're saying 1/4-inch hail. There was also a report by a trained spotter in Wapakoneta, which measured 1/2-inch hail. So nevertheless, we're getting some nasty hail with this particular storm.
Yeah, it looks like they're going to issue another new severe thunderstorm warning, and these polygons are going to get a little messy. So once this pops up on the screen, we'll talk about it. But there's a new warning now for Auglaize, Mercer, and Shelby until 7:45. And that, I'm going to wait for that to pop up because I want to see what they're doing with that. Okay. So the existing warning for Mercer County is set to expire in 5 minutes. So this is why they've went ahead and issued basically a new warning. But this is now going to be including, again, the city of Wapakoneta, which is under 3 different polygons right now. So I'll break that down in just a moment. Botkins down to Anna, and that's going to be kind of as you work your way down into Shelby County. So Wapakoneta, let's kind of break things down for you because you've got 3 different polygons going on for you right now. So eastern Auglaize County, east of 75, the cell that is also coming through Indian Lake. That is one warning that goes until 7:30. That cell is also going to kind of graze eastern Auglaize County, east of Waynesfield, and then kind of cross into southwestern Hardin County, southwest of Kenton. So that's polygon number 1. Polygon number 2 is for the western half of Auglaize County into Mercer County. This storm has kind of slowed down its current speed, still with the warning until 7 o'clock. So for all intents and purposes, let's just say that polygon is gone. The newest warning, which replaces that storm, includes Wapakoneta, Botkins, Anna, Salina, close to Minster, right along US 33 between roughly 75 and 127. That warning is until 7:45. So I understand, especially if you have the Bell Park Weather Network app, your phone's probably going nuts right now in Wapakoneta. So I just wanted to kind of break that down for you a little bit. Same in Lima. We have 2 warnings. Okay, the one that covers the city of Lima. I really think at this point it's going to kind of be on the south and western side of Lima for the most part. So if you're taking US 30 west, they're north of Lima for the most part. You're going to be getting in on some of the heavier activity there. And then north and east of Lima, a separate warning there until 7 o'clock for the Beaver Dam area. That's going to be near, I guess, what some folks call the best speedway out there, if you will. It's 75 in US 30. That's going to be crossing eventually there into Hancock County. And speaking of Hancock County, there is still a warning up here for the potential of seeing golf ball sized hail. I do think that cell, which you're looking at live on our tower cam there in Findlay, I'm going to have to pan that to the left just a touch. So you can see the darker clouds off in the distance. And again, we are looking a pretty good ways down 75. So this is still a little ways from the camera. And in fact, I'm going to keep going to the left a little bit. And that's going to run into the pole there. But I'm kind of curious to see as this gets a little closer. We're not seeing a ton of signs of rotation. I know the Weather Service is not necessarily mentioning that either on this storm that's kind of straddling the Hardin-Hancock County line right now. But we'll watch that as it works northeast. We've got a very clear view of that coming in. So as it gets a little bit closer, you'll be able to kind of watch along with us, if you will. And of course, we are very grateful that Amplex Internet has that up there for us. And and obviously it would be great to have more of those, but this is why, it's nice to have a great view of these so we can also kind of see what's going on out there.
Yeah, absolutely. We're continuing to monitor the storm cells also back in Cleveland, Nick. We're starting to see some stuff coming in just south or just east of east of Avon and south of Bay Village. Some very strong wind gusts coming in off the lake there. So looking at some of the high impact areas up there. So keeping in mind with that particular storm as well, we want to not forget about that, but starting to see a really good return coming in. It's starting to run over towards the Cleveland airport. So we're keeping an eye on that as well, along the rest of that, kind of going all the way up into Pennsylvania and the Erie, Pennsylvania. They're seeing 1-inch hail markers over there as well. Wouldn't be surprised with that. But very strong winds, very indicative of this type of storm today. When we kind of looked at everything, looked at the parameters today, the soundings, everything we're seeing was strong winds and large hail possible today. Not for everybody, but for a majority of our coverage area on Ohio News and Weather. We're continuing to look at that, and I don't want to say the threat of tornadoes is non-existent today. It's on the lower end. We could see 1 or 2 spin-ups here as we continue to go throughout the evening hours, but that really wasn't our main threat today. But I do, again, kind of want to reiterate the fact that, hey, these storms can produce winds that are just as destructive as tornadoes. We've seen this, especially when we get into that destructive wind category that we're looking at up here near Cleveland. When we start to see that word of destructive winds, they're saying up to 80 miles an hour. So we got to take that very seriously. You need to be indoors and away from windows as that continues to push off here east. I would say pretty much due east as it's coming in out over the lake. So we got to make sure we keep that in mind as well. Get to that lowest level that you can of your house, not necessarily a basement, but stay away from windows. We're also seeing some reports coming in. We got a measured wind gust come in just a few minutes ago. What is that? The Ashtabula area, 56 miles an hour. We're also starting to see some branches down, they're saying near Ada, which just south of 30 there. So we're starting to see that storms. But we kind of got this plethora of severe thunderstorm warnings. Got 2 concentrated areas here, one in northeast Ohio, also one here down in the Lima area. Let's see here. So basically what I just said, Nick, the National Weather Service out of Cleveland was stating, and you're seeing this as well, both the Cleveland and Cleveland radar and the tower in Cleveland, tower radar, showing pockets of 60-mile-an-hour wind gusts just northeast of North Ridgeville, near North Olmsted, which we were just talking about. Very, very strong winds that are indicative there as well. So have to keep a very close eye on that. So if you're in downtown Cleveland, time's up for you. If you're out ahead of this, make sure, again, that you're getting inside and away from windows, as we could see some potential strong winds here coming off the lake. Now, the storms that were going through Sandusky County, Ottawa County, I know I got some people maybe watching over in that area. They had let the severe thunderstorm lapse. They did issue a special weather statement on that, but not really anything going on. However, as I say that, they just issued another severe thunderstorm warning for Sandusky, Huron, Seneca, and Erie County, portions of Erie County, as I just said that. So you'll be seeing that new warning come up on your screen here in just a minute. The storm just rolled through here, that northern portion of the storm I was on, not really seeing maybe what they're seeing, but maybe it's picking up in some intensity. So they just issued that new severe thunderstorm warning until 7:45. That'll be populating on your screen pretty much for the far eastern portions of Sandusky County and Seneca County, and the extreme southern portion of Erie County, and I would say most of Huron County.
Yeah, and real quick, Owen, they did just issue some updated severe thunderstorm warnings from the Cleveland office. So I wanted to kind of talk about that here for just a moment. So the city of Cleveland down through Akron and Lodi, a severe thunderstorm warning for winds up to 70 miles per hour as this line kind of starts to sag southward a little bit more. And then another new severe thunderstorm warning for Ashtabula and Trumbull counties here this evening until 8:15 for winds up to 70 miles per hour. So not quite to Youngstown, but it's on the border. That's an update on that line of storms. And there's that new polygon that includes the southeastern quadrant there of Sandusky County, extreme southern Erie County, extreme northeastern portions of Seneca County, and most of Huron County. So we're watching that very closely as well. Now, getting back into the Lima area, again, you're taking a live look in the lower right-hand corner of your screen there of the Finley Tower Cam, and we are starting to get a pretty good look at the storm structure, and I'm sure Owen is kind of watching this as well. Not seeing any signs of rotation here, but we are certainly kind of seeing what looks like a shelf cloud there potentially off in the distance. So we're going to watch this camera closely, and if we do start to see, some signs of rotation or anything popping up there near Finley, I can pull the camera up full, but I just wanted to kind of show you that we are watching that particular storm. But again, kind of taking you back into the Wapakoneta area in particular, kind of zooming you back into this a little bit. And storm tracks, I know some folks want to know where these are going. Some of these storm tracks and motions are all over the place. So we're just going to kind of watch things in real time. We'll let you know where things are kind of progressing. But in terms of me drawing out a storm track, especially with these isolated cells out ahead of this line, it's really not going to be very helpful to communicate what is really going on. So with that said, let's kind of get you an update what's going on here in the Lima area. They've kind of trimmed a couple of the severe thunderstorm warnings back. Right now, Mercer County is warning free. However, in the Rockford area and near Rockford, you've also got US 33 and 127 where there's a pretty good truck stop there. From there and points north on 127, it's where the worst of the weather's happening. Probably could still be seeing some small hail and gusty winds. If you take 33 further east towards Wapakoneta, Wapakoneta's gotten hit pretty hard this evening, so we're kind of keeping an eye on things there and also watching a storm here near Indian Lake, which has remained rather isolated, but it is starting to kind of congeal with the existing line of storms off to the northwest. But if you know anybody near Indian Lake, tell them to not be on the water right now. That is coming right through Russell's Point, Lakeview, up to Huntsville there on 117, crossing into portions of Hardin County there around the Roundhead area. And then to the southwest of this, we'll have to watch down here toward Russia, Piqua, Versailles, Rossburg, watching again an isolated storm. Sometimes these can carry the best tornado potential. So we've got a lot going on across west central Ohio and the northern Miami Valley here as well. And looks like, Owen, they've also kind of taken Finley out of the warning there as that storm is kind of weakened. I don't know if you've been watching the sky cam there in the lower right-hand corner, but the heaviest rain is coming right up on the Skycam site here pretty shortly, so we'll kind of see what we get with that. But a pretty nasty storm there coming into the Finley area, and really, Owen, I almost kind of think we're looking at almost kind of everything becoming one solid line from northwestern PA all the way back through Lima. Things are definitely starting to develop just a little bit more.
Yeah, I think we're going to continue to see that here as we head out over the next hours. So we're going to see that line kind of just chase off to the east. And tracking a little bit south here as we move forward. A couple of things I do want to point out. So we do have that new severe thunderstorm warning that was issued for portions of Sandusky, Seneca, Huron, and Erie counties. I'm not exactly sure why, but they must have saw something. There was a few pockets there of some stronger winds, and maybe that was it. But we do want to respect the polygon, but make sure that you're getting inside in any one of these warnings. But that's again for if you're in Sandusky County, the extreme southeast portion, and pretty much northeast portion of Seneca County. Huron County would be the most impacted one here in the city of Norwalk. Heads up to you as well. But I do want to point out a couple of things. We're watching this downburst potential that is happening near that North Olmsted and Westlake up in Cleveland. Those gusts of winds are very strong up there, and I'm looking at that here and actually measuring those out on radar indication winds, or radar indicated winds. So very strong winds. So if you're in that area, definitely need to make sure that you are indoors, away from windows, getting that lowest level of your house. Stay away from windows because there's some downburst winds that are possible right there between North Olmsted and Westlake. Just a couple things too, a little bit. We are watching your comments, but unfortunately, we don't have a lot of the ability to tell you about what's going to happen in Dayton, what's going to happen in we cover 125 counties, so it's pretty possible to tell everybody what's going to happen in your county, especially when we got this going on. We do see them, but we just kind of ignore them. Sorry, it's just the way it goes when we're live with impactful warnings like this. But we do see them. We do appreciate the support and you helping each other out and answering the questions as well. So a couple other reports that are coming in, Nick, from that storm earlier coming over in Van Wert County. So it looks like, according to the EMA director over there, a number of trees down reported in Van Wert County between the village of Wren and the village of Ohio City. So we're seeing some damage reports come in with that as this races off to the south. I would say east southeast, and 60 to 70 mile an hour wind gusts near, what does he say, near Fairview Park at this time from the Cleveland radar. That's coming from the forecaster and meteorologist out of Cleveland right now. So they're continuing to watch those downburst wind potential there near Fairview Park. So they continue to enhance that and talk about that, and you can start to see those very, very strong wind gusts near that area that we're looking at, Nick.
Yeah, so Fairview Park, I believe that is in Lorain County, so watching that. But regardless, there's a pretty good pocket of strong wind there coming in there. Off the lake there coming into northwestern Cuyahoga County, so we'll continue to watch that very closely. And I will say these storms are kind of moving more east, southeast. They're not sagging south very quickly. So those of you down into Akron, Medina, Ravenna, Warren, going to take a little bit longer before these storms get a little bit closer to you. But I'm also kind of been monitoring things in Van Wert County because, again, we had, again, at least a tree fell onto a house with one person injured and trapped. Still kind of working to see if that was the same person or not. But some other reports coming in as well out of southeastern Allen County, Indiana, with these storms within the last 10 minutes. Sometimes these reports are a little bit delayed. There's a report of 2 8-inch trees down and a 16-inch tree down on Monroeville Road. I'm very familiar with that area up there near Fort Wayne, and also some trees down on Hoagland Road there in the Fort Wayne area. So several reports of damage, and also not to kind of be forgotten about our friends across northwestern PA from Erie County down all the way to Oil City and the Grove City area there along I-80 and I-79. These storms are moving your way. History of strong winds, a little bit of hail, very heavy rain, and some lightning. So we need to make sure we're moving indoors. Again, if you've not already done so, to these several hundred of you watching, and again, a good evening to all of you. Owen Fritz is joining me here. I'm Nick Dunn with an update on severe weather. Make sure that you have the Bell Park Weather Network app handy. We are streaming live on YouTube, so you can watch our stream there if you happen to lose power or something of that nature. We'll probably send out another push notification here after a bit, assuming things are still remaining as intense as they are right now. And and something else to kind of keep in mind too. First off, if you're looking at the Findlay sky cam in the lower right-hand corner, starting to get some pretty good rain there. They have kind of taken the city of Findlay out of the warning as the storm that was kind of curving northeast had kind of split off from Wapakoneta a little earlier. That cell is kind of really weakened, has kind of become more of a mass of just some stronger winds and heavy rain. And the other thing to kind of mention here, we get up towards 70 mile per hour winds. We're talking pretty close to hurricane strength. So obviously it's the middle of summer. Folks are out. Maybe folks are kind of out, wanting to enjoy the evening, enjoy some pool time after a long work day. Once you hear that thunder, you've got to start getting indoors because these storms are coming through. We've got lots of reports of damage. And again, we get up to 70 miles per hour. We're approaching hurricane strength, which could do some pretty significant damage pretty quickly.
Well, not only that, so you think about just the strong of the wind. So if we kind of remind everybody, hurricane strength winds start at 74 miles an hour. So you're looking at Category 1 hurricane, if you will, type winds at 74. Wouldn't be surprised they're near Avon right now if they're not getting some of those strong winds. And earlier, we issued that, or I would say they issued the destructive severe thunderstorm warning. So we're looking at, that category wind type of winds for hurricanes. And then, if you look at the downburst side and the straight line wind side, if we look at our low end tornadoes, remember an EF0 tornado has 65 to 85 mile an hour wind gusts. So we're kind of seeing those winds as well. It can be just as destructive, especially in the straight line winds, and or downburst winds that we're seeing across the area with these storms. So we got to remember what a downburst is. Kind of remember taking a straw, blowing through a straw straight down at your counter, maybe into a pile of salt or sugar or something. That's how the damage path is going to form. It's just going to release all its energy, and that's why we call it downburst winds and blowing outward, usually more in a circular pattern. There was another warning that was just issued a fairly large warning, I think, Nick, that was just issued here for Wyandotte, Crawford, portions of Seneca County now, even over into our friends in Richland County and Southern Huron County, Ashland County, and I think it did clip Lorain County. So kind of reading that warning. Um, yeah, you could hear my weather radio in the background going nuts where I'm at. So this new severe thunderstorm warning covers northern Richland County, southern Huron County, southern Seneca County, northern Ashland County, Wyandotte County, Crawford County, and southern Hancock County until 8:15. So this is for those storms that are coming out of Wyandotte County. Over into Crawford County, and the ones that are just starting to creep up here in southern Seneca County. There is some pockets of stronger winds that's coming out near the town of Cary and New Regal. So if you're anywhere in those areas as well, we're starting to see some winds intensify here on the southern flank of that particular storm as well. So we're continuing that. You can pretty much see this entire line is going to be warned, it seems like, here at some point. As we continue here, we have warnings pretty much solid all the way from our friends over in Erie, Pennsylvania, all the way down and back into Allen County, and even in portions of Van Wert County. I believe that one's still active as well, that we're keeping a very close eye on. So kind of just tag team in the coverage here. You can see in our sky cam out of Findlay, you can see the wind and the rain is just starting, covering our sky cam, and be very interested to see if maybe we can turn that, Nick. I'm not sure if we can turn that towards maybe the south or.
Oh, actually, well, we'll give it just a second here because now I've kind of turned it, kind of more, I guess, westish, if you will, and you can kind of see the leading edge of what was probably a shelf cloud at some point, but it's been kind of muddled up in some rain, so you can now kind of see that. But I'll kind of turn it back there towards the airport, kind of looking east, so we can kind of get a little bit different view on things. Well, and even that view is just as foggy, I guess you could say, with the amount of rain that is falling. I will say that the trees are not necessarily blowing too hard. We can actually zoom in a little bit too, and kind of zoom in on a couple of spots here and kind of see how things are looking, and we can maybe report some stuff to the Weather Service if necessary. But I will say right now the winds in Findlay here at the Findlay Sugar weather camera not looking overly impressive. I just kind of zoomed in a little bit there. You're looking pretty much right at the Findlay Airport right there, and as you can see, obviously not a whole lot of traffic going on there right now with the downpour coming through, but you can see some pretty poor visibility. So as you encounter these storms this evening, just make sure that you are taking your time if you are out, especially in these spots where some of the heaviest rain is falling, and just make sure that you are allowing extra time to get to your destination. We really don't need you, getting yourself hurt or anything of that nature. So the flashing,
a new severe thunderstorm warning, Nick. So yay, Hardin County gets in on the action now.
Yeah, another one for them. Real quick, too, getting a couple of questions. Wanted to explain the flashing yellow boxes. Great question. Those are all of the individualized polygons. Remember that warnings are polygon-based and not county-based, although all of Lorain County, Cuyahoga, there are several whole counties under a warning right now because that's the way that the polygons are being drawn. But just remember that polygons are smaller. Okay, so we're talking about a smaller area, whereas a watch encompasses a much larger area. But great question. If you also look on the upper left-hand corner of your screen, we've got the tornado, thunderstorm, and flash flood warning legend up there for you, so you can kind of follow along. And you see all of the yellow squares. Those are hail reports. Blue squares are wind reports. Green triangles are where hail's being indicated. So these are just some of the things that we like to kind of look at and kind of help us understand what's going on. But great question, because that's actually something that I've, not necessarily mentioned. So appreciate that. Sometimes we kind of get lost in things just a little bit. Says Owen said we have another new warning here for Hardin County. It's going to be until 8 o'clock for some quarter-size hail and winds to 60. And Owen, I will say this western Ohio area, Lima, Wapakoneta, Indian Lake, up there towards into Hardin County has been getting hit pretty hard over the last hour or so. And also, obviously, our friends in far northeastern Ohio as well. Was just checking power outages. Nothing substantial yet. We are at about 13,000. Logan County's at 1,700. And to no surprise, Lake County's at 6,000. Ashtabula's at 1,300. And Ottawa's at about 800 right now, Owen. So thankfully, outside of the spot there in Lake County, we are not seeing anything overly substantial on the power outages, but obviously some of those storms are just coming on shore, so might take a little bit to get some of those reports of power outages.
Yeah, it continues. There's a couple here in Sandusky County, too, where I'm located currently, but did want to point out a couple of things that we're starting to see, too. National Weather Service is stating there, hey, in several reports of 1-inch hail in the West Lake and North Olmsted area up near Cleveland. But that's going to be pretty much the case throughout this, especially on the southern flank of the storm back in Hardin, Logan, Wyandotte counties. Probably going to see some large hail, especially over in the northern portion of our area as well, over in Geauga County and Cuyahoga County in those areas. We cover 125 counties, so very large scale to cover. But the one kind of in between, Seneca County, Huron County, that one isn't as strong. They went ahead and issued the warning, probably out of good measure. Not seeing many reports come out of that area just yet. I know it went through here a little bit ago. I'm keeping an eye on some of the spotters throughout the area. We're not seeing anything that's coming out of those counties, which is a good thing, especially in Huron, Seneca, and Sandusky County. Seneca County has 2 warnings right now, one for the southern flank of the county, so for the southwest to southeast portion of the county. That's rolling, but it should be out of Seneca County here really shortly. Wyandotte County is picking up on some of that heavy, intense rainfall, maybe some small hail into that, but still watching those micro burst type winds over near the area of basically Avon, if you will. And I'm trying to see why a TVS just popped up on my screen. Okay, nothing to worry about there over in Cleveland. It just popped up on my screen, but. Looking at that and kind of looking at most of this, Nick, I love this fact that we have the weather cam. We're continuing to do that. So I think we're going to install some windshield wipers on those. And because I think it'd be, and I'm not joking on that, but we'll continue to look at upgrading the network and continue to expand that network, because the more coverage that we can see, the better off that it helps us, especially in portions of the western coverage area. You got to remember, in some areas we're very high in the sky looking from radar, upwards, in Toledo, 6,500 feet above the sky, so or up in the sky. So it's very hard to tell on some things. Getting some ground truth as you're looking at the sky cam there. I believe you got it pointed probably south on 75 there in Findlay.
Yeah, I just kind of turned that to the north for a second.
Oh, north, sorry.
Yep, I
Yeah,
just
that's
kind of turned
split.
it for a second. Wanted to kind of get a little bit of a different vantage point. I'm going to go ahead and turn it back to the southwest since it's not raining at the camera now. We can kind of see what's going on kind of back there to the south. Yeah, well, you can actually see in between 2 storms, you can actually see some sunshine. Check that out. You can see that now there on the sky cam. That's kind of cool to be able to see that. So I'm actually going to pan a little bit more to the left there so we can kind of get another kind of updated look at kind of how things to the southwest are looking there. And well, I don't want to hit the pole there. Gotta be careful with that. But kind of looking off there to the southwest, you can see here in Findlay, that's where some of the worst of the activity is. But obviously, again, it is nice to to have these things and kind of look. So I'm also kind of scouring some reports. It looks like Hardin County really has taken kind of the brunt of it this evening with some of the hail. Seeing some signs that there was some larger hail, larger than quarter size there. So kind of watching that particular spot right now. 1-inch hail over Rocky River, not necessarily surprising there. Weather Service in Wilmington is monitoring how an outflow boundary dropping south out of Allglades and Logan County, monitoring to see how that interacts with storms further south into Shelby and Champaign counties. So we'll watch and see how that develops there as well. And it looks like now we've had a couple of warnings also expire. And I will say Ashtabula County, things are improving. Lake County, things are improving for you right now. Same for Erie and Sandusky County, things are improving for you. And even Hancock County, things are improving there for you as well. Kind of working back down the line a little bit. So go back into Champaign County, kind of explain what the Weather Service is kind of monitoring here. Number one, there's a kind of an outflow boundary. It's not very visible, but think of an outflow boundary as kind of rain-cooled air, and sometimes that can help fuel thunderstorms, kind of depending on how the environment is. But we're watching it's kind of dropping south, and as you can see here to the northwest of Urbana, pretty nice-looking thunderstorm there, relatively isolated at this point in time, but we will kind of watch that, and let's kind of turn off the lightning for just a little bit here, kind of clean things up a little bit, and I'll turn off the hail markers there as well, just to kind of keep things a little cleaner there for us. A good point. Kind of haven't done that in a little while. So kind of looking at things here. Okay, this original storm that crossed Indian Lake, it is moving really, really slow. It is just now crossing 68 north of US 33, where you have Lee's Chicken there, kind of crossing through Rushsylvania, kind of straddling that Hardin-Logan County line. That's going to be north of the Honda plants. I know a lot of folks may be getting ready for shift change up there at some point this evening. We'll keep a close eye on that for you. Pretty heavily traveled thoroughfare in and out of Columbus in and out of Lima, even for folks kind of heading down there towards Marysville. We'll keep an eye on that as the evening progresses. But seeing a couple of interesting trends here. Number one, some of these storms in west central Ohio, the northern Miami Valley, starting to weaken just a touch. Does not necessarily mean that it's over. Sometimes these storms can cycle back and forth just a little bit, and we're kind of seeing that. And also back across Indiana now, kind of seeing some weakening trend here at times as well. Again, this is part of a cold front that is kind of slowly working its way south, and if you've been kind of following along with us today, this overall setup as a whole was kind of conditional. We were waiting for what's called a cap to break, and so far that cap is pretty much broken. It appears north of I-70. Has not happened yet to the south. We'll kind of watch and wait and see what happens with that. Let's take you back up to northeast Ohio. Cleveland area, downtown. Boy, you guys are getting hit pretty good right now. Parma, Berea, North Olmsted, Strongsville, getting hit pretty good right now, along with Beechwood and Mayfield Heights, Euclid, Solon, back there to Grafton and to portions of Lorain County. I'll take that TVS off there too. I'm not sure. Oh, and unless you were seeing rotation, I was not seeing anything.
No, that's clutter. That's okay. It's detected something at the radar site. That's
kind of what
clutter.
I thought. So kind of zooming it out for you, I want to just show something for you, okay? We got a line of unbroken severe thunderstorm warnings from Buffalo, New York to Bellefontaine, Ohio. Not something that you see every day. Just kind of goes to show that we do have some pretty significant weather going on across parts of the area. Not everybody's getting it. We never once said today that this would be a widespread event or an all-day event by any means, but we're certainly watching multiple rounds of thunderstorms out there this evening. So this is kind of where things are right now. The strongest weather happening in Cleveland and northeastern Ohio as well. And the sun is starting to come out there in Findlay. And that's the furthest south camera we have. So, and actually with that, we can actually go ahead and probably disable that for the time being. Also need to check our YouTube stream and see if anybody has anything to report over there. I've kind of not checked that for a while, so I'll double check that real quick as well and kind of see what you guys are saying here. Good evening. Bunch of hail in Wapakoneta a little earlier. That doesn't surprise me.
Probably some strong wind there too. I mean, I know that even down in Ada, they just come in with ping pong ball size hail. So
yeah, there have been a lot of reports. If you guys have pictures, obviously, please be safe doing so. But you are more than welcome to send those over to us. For those of you watching on the app, I see a couple folks on YouTube are watching us from the app. We appreciate that. If you don't have our app, it's Bell Park Weather Network. It's free in the App Store. Great resource. Southeast Ohio. Well, we got a long way to go before we can get there this evening. I appreciate the question, though. We'll kind of watch and kind of see how things go. If you're watching on YouTube, we are also streaming on Facebook, so that's kind of one neat platform that we can kind of go back and forth with and kind of show you both of those things. But again, if you have pictures, we would love to see them. Just please make sure that you're safe in doing so. And again, Owen, this line as a whole is kind of drifting southeast. So while most folks get rain tonight, certainly some folks may not, and some folks may not get severe weather, but may not be something to be overly upset about, in my opinion.
Yeah, so just kind of I know we're looking through some comments here. We're starting to see these storms, I don't want to say die down just a little bit. It's very hard to track these storms, so we're not going to really be able to do that for you. Might be able to put a track on the whole line, but very hard to do that, especially because of the amount of area that we have to cover with all of these warnings. So we apologize for that. Pretty much we'll, and I'll have Nick reset it here in just a few minutes too, popping up the SBC Outlook, kind of telling you, are you at risk tonight as we continue on. I know some people are watching from Southern Ohio and they're wondering in the Mid-Ohio Valley. I understand that as well. So we'll get to that in just a little bit. We'll continue to work on that. That's funny. Sorry. The tropical outlook is issued. But anyway, hail reports that are coming in, that ping pong ball size hail, that's 1.5 inch hail near the town of Ada, and looking also in Cuyahoga County as well. We're seeing some ping pong ball size hail, 1.5 inch hail as well there in Cuyahoga County. I know Wapak, you probably got it, especially with some wind. So the nice thing is, if there is a nice thing right now, we're starting to see these storms lose some of the energy that they once had, especially in the southern flank of the storm. The northern one still looks pretty good, but it looks like here in the southern flank of the storm, some of these are starting to lose the umph that they had this afternoon when things got going into this cold front sweeping across the area. So we have to, again, kind of focus the efforts here, kind of moving in the Cleveland area. That rain, it just kind of seems like it's sitting over that same area off the lake up in Cuyahoga County, Lorain County. We'll have to keep an eye on that for some potential localized flash flooding. Wouldn't be surprised to see some of those start to come out here very soon as well.
Yeah, oh, and they've actually already issued a flood advisory for Cuyahoga and Lorain
Oh,
County
good.
until 11:15 tonight. So far, 1 to 2 inches of rain has fallen, with another 1 to 2 inches possible through the rest of the evening hours. So you were already ahead of the game there.
I like it. I like it. Sorry, I didn't even see that, but that's good. It's because it was an advisory. That's why it didn't come up as a warning on my screen. I
That's
don't
all
have
right.
that. Do look in here. So, kind of look in here at our tracker for power. Looks like the winner right now with the county here. Let's see, 5,000 or so in Logan County. So that's kind of the winner right now. Hardin County coming in with 141 in that particular area. Ottawa County has about 500 people out right now. Not seeing anything in Seneca. I know we do have a few outages here in Sandusky County, but too minimal to report. As we go over in Lake County, I know they got about 4,700 people out. Geauga County, about 1,000. Over in Ashtabula County, about 1,500. So we're continuing to see some power outages start to come in, and the numbers catch up a little bit. So it looks like the hardest hit area for power outages, Logan County is checking in here at number one. And I know it just come across my screen. We got a new severe thunderstorm warning. What is that? Is that
Looks like
fairly
this for
large?
Union, Logan, and Champaign there in the Miami Valley. It looks like, at least
Yes.
unless there's another one that I may have missed at some point.
No, it's that was out of Indianapolis. Yeah, but the new severe thunderstorm warning is just popped in for northern Champaign County, southern Logan County, and southwestern Union County. Goes till 8:15. They got this slowing down just a little bit, moving east at 30 miles an hour. So um, getting in on the action down in Nick's stomping ground for where he fills in down there. So getting in on your stomping grounds down there near Dayton. Um, and they just continued the watch. Okay, they're updating the watch over in Indiana. Yep, there's the flash flood warning. Bada bing, bada boom. They just issued one.
Oh, for
Look
downtown
at
Cleveland,
that.
yeah, let's take a look at that. I wondered if it was going to be much longer before they elected to issue that. So might be kind of hard to see. We've got a flash flood warning now until 10:30, and that's what you just kind of heard go off in the background here for Cuyahoga County, for the entire downtown immediate Cleveland metro area, Maple Heights, Brooklyn. Um, Okay, so the good news is, oh, and at least if there is a piece of good news with this, they did not necessarily put this as like a PDS flash flood warning. This is just a baseline flash flood warning, but certainly flooding is probably a big issue right now in downtown Cleveland, at least in some of those flood-prone and poor drainage areas. The amount of rain that has been falling, likely a little difficult for some of the drainage systems to kind of keep up with.
Yeah, especially over the rainfall rates that we're seeing. National Weather Service, by the way, continues that severe thunderstorm warning for Ashland, Crawford, Huron, Richland, Seneca, and Wyandotte counties. And that makes sense on what's going on. There is some pockets of some stronger wind gusts now that really are starting to creep into Wyandotte County that we're looking at. And it's kind of coming through Crawford County. There is some decent pockets there of wind that could approach that severe criteria. Um, Let's see here. Okay, that's something else. I was just continuing to look at that. But the good thing, Nick, if there is some silver lining to this, we're not seeing, and I'm knocking on my desk here, knocking on wood, that we're not seeing the amount of rotation at all, but we're still seeing some couple things. Some heavy rainfall in some areas. Localized flooding is very possible, but we're also seeing some large hail being reported, especially now looking down at Champaign County. That one's starting to look look a little bit more healthy than we've seen here over the past few minutes.
Yeah.
Looking there in Champaign and Logan County, getting some deep purples coming back in on that one. So wouldn't be surprised to see some decent hail coming out of that. They got a 1-inch hail marker on that as well. So I wouldn't be surprised to see some more hail coming out of that. So if you're over in Union County near Marysville, make sure that you're heeding to that as well. But kind of looking at the long and short of this flank, the good thing is, hold on a minute. I think you're reading what I'm reading, Nick. I don't think I'm even going there. But we're continuing to see some strong wind gusts as we continue over in Geauga, Lake counties, even over into Ashtabula County, and our friends over in Erie County, Pennsylvania, and Crawford County, Pennsylvania. We're seeing some strong wind gusts there as well. Wouldn't be surprised again with localized flooding as well with through this. And we got to remember, as these storms dump the torrential amount of rain in a short period of time, maybe not enough for a flash flood warning, but you're going to see some localized flooding, and make sure that you slow down. If you got your wipers on, make sure your headlights are on. That's the state of Ohio law, by the way. Make sure you got that going on and slow down. Don't hydroplane. It's not worth it. Take your time, slow down just a little bit. You'll get to your destination, especially as these storms are crossing over the area. But kind of looking at this, wouldn't be surprised here. We're starting to see the warnings now. Earlier in the day, we started to see these warnings be very micro, if you will. They were very condensed. They were very small warnings. Now we're seeing these broad warnings that are being issued, these blanket warnings, some very large polygons being issued. And kind of looking in relation to that, that's obviously we have a linear threat here of these storms as they cross today. But and when we look at that, I'll take that any day of the week, because it definitely reduces our chance of strong tornadoes and tornadoes in general. We could still see some quick spin ups, but that threat is starting to subside more and more here as we move throughout the next hour or so, and even the past hour, we've seen it kind of die down on the pretty much the wind side too. Most of the winds now that we're seeing coming in are below that, definitely that 80-mile-an-hour destructive winds we are talking about coming off the lake in Cleveland earlier. So that's a very good sign for us here across Ohio. Now, Nick, I did want to point out, we kind of got a pause, or excuse me, if we got I don't want to say a pause in the action, but
Yeah.
I want to point out if we could kind of bring up the SBC maps to
Yep.
kind of show people the outlook here, because I know we got a lot of people watching from Southern Ohio. Make sure, kind of some shameless plugs here. Download the Bell Park Weather Network app, Bell Park Weather Network, on your screen there in the live stream. Download the app. It's free in the App Store, free in the Play Store. The warnings come out, and I tell you what, it beats anything that even we get. It's very fast, so we're very proud of that. So, and have a way to receive warnings this afternoon, or I should say this evening, as we get into the later evening hours, into the overnight hours as well. So make sure you
Yeah.
download that as well. And Nick, I'll let you kind of explain the SBC map and kind of the timing of what we're seeing here over the next several hours.
Yeah, so one thing before I get into that, I just saw a comment about tornado sirens in the Austin town area. And folks, I'm just going to use a blanket statement. The Weather Service is the only authority that is legally obligated and legally allowed to issue a severe thunderstorm or tornado warning. Okay, we had this issue the other night down in Butler County too. There are no active tornado warnings. Now I understand, just understand that these warnings, okay, each county has their own policy on sirens, but just to be clear, those are outdoor warning sirens, and those should not be your number one source for information. I understand, if somebody thinks they may see a funnel cloud, some counties may sound those, but just understand that there are no tornado warnings, and I've not seen any posts about a tornado warning being issued by anybody. The Weather Service has not issued any, so just understand that right now we have no tornado warnings. Just want to kind of put a blanket statement on that and remind everybody of who has the obligation to, to issue those warnings. So the Storm Prediction Center outlook, level 3 out of 5. Risk is in that orange area from about I-70 north. And then obviously once that next 9 o'clock outlook comes out, we're going to see that adjusted and trimmed back, obviously, because places like Fort Wayne, Toledo, you guys are done with the severe weather. Same for places like Findlay, Defiance, Angola. You guys are done with the severe weather. Ashtabula, even portions of Erie County, PA, they're right there along the lakeshore. You guys are done. Level 2 out of 5 risk of severe weather for areas south of I-70 to about the Ohio River in general. This does include Cincinnati, Chillicothe, Portsmouth, McConnellsville. Then you get down into the Middle Ohio Valley, where we don't have any coverage ongoing yet, but there is a level 1 risk of severe weather for our West Virginia counties that are on the West Virginia side of the river and south of US 50. So it is really also important that you understand where you live on a map. I cannot stress that enough. If you would like a map of our coverage area, please send us a message. We'd be more than glad to give you a map of our area with all the counties that we cover. We obviously have a lot of new fans. It's been a while since we've had some longer form type severe weather coverage. Real quick, too, just to kind of touch base, the tornado threat this evening is highest along Lake Erie, a non-zero chance elsewhere, but just understand that it's not a zero risk, but it is relatively low. It is not the main concern for today. The bigger concern we have is for wind, which again kind of concentrated near and north of I-70 as most of the things have been so far, and then hail. was the best chance of seeing hail was across northwestern and west central Ohio, which has validated. Now, we've also had some reports of some larger hail. Again, that has been in northwest Ohio primarily. I've not seen any reports out of Cleveland or Ashtabula of that like golf ball, ping pong ball size hail. That hasn't come through yet. But Ada, Wapakoneta, Bell Fountain area, up to Lima, especially just east of Lima. In fact, we're getting inundated now with several pictures of hail out of eastern Allen County, Ohio. Hail big enough to damage cars, at least on that golf ball size. So a little bit concerned about that. Again, if you have to go outside, please take your precautions and do it the right way. Don't put yourself in danger. Just wanted to kind of reset that for you. And we'll take you back to radar now. And I'll put the warnings back on too. I won't turn the lightning on or anything. In fact, I'm going to turn off the reports for right now as well, just because obviously we've got a plethora of warnings out there. And they're starting to continue to drop this watch back here as well. Hazardous weather outlook. Yeah, we're already kind of seeing that. Let's see here. Looks like... Okay, so Brookfield, Ohio, there is a report now of a possible funnel cloud near Brookfield, Ohio, near State Road 609, near Berg Hill. I'm not sure exactly where that is. I'll try to find some information on that, but that came through.
That's the one I was looking at earlier that I don't know. I don't know about that because I've been watching that area very strongly. So same thing Cleveland had said. So I said that earlier. I said I wasn't going there. That was the one that I wasn't really, not so sure on that. A linear threat right now over there. Some strong winds. Not saying it wasn't possible, but we have a lot of times that scud clouds look very ominous and scary, and they're not necessarily funnels. So we've had that happen before. But right now, even it doesn't really matter. You need to be inside, away from windows, in the lowest level of your house. Anyway, not necessarily in your tornado safe place, but get to get inside and stay away from windows, because some of these winds are stronger than the tornado wind gusts anyway. So you need to make sure that you stay away from the windows, especially when these wind gusts are moving up to 70 miles an hour. Like Nick had said, and we kind of pointed out on the map, the good thing is, and I'll talk about the sirens here in just a minute. So in Trumbull County, depending on county policy, if they see something, if it's confirmed by a spotter, every policy is different. It just depends on the county's policy. Sometimes they'll take the word of somebody that they trust. Sometimes it has to be law enforcement, but then we've seen law enforcement that aren't necessarily trained and they think it is and it's not. So there's just a lot of different things there. Right now they're not under a tornado warning, but hey, you know what? If you're hearing the sirens, go indoors, treat it, respect it, get indoors, stay away from windows, and respect those sirens and or the severe thunderstorm warning too. So just precautionary, just take a few minutes and get to that safe spot right now and just stay indoors and get to the lowest level of your house right now. If that's what you're hearing, we'd rather be safe than sorry on most of this, but Cleveland is watching that there in Trumbull County very extensively as well. I can tell you I'm not necessarily seeing any rotation in radar, and we have a very good picture of Trumbull County, especially on the tower radar. So not necessarily seeing that, but again, we'll continue to watch that very closely for you. And the good thing is the tornadic threat, especially over the next 45 minutes or so, it's pretty much moving out of that zone where the Storm Prediction Center said there was going to be the possibility of tornadoes or greater risk of tornadoes. We're pretty much getting out of that area, so that threat's going to diminish. And again, they continue to peel back these warnings. So we'll have to keep an eye on that, Nick. And again, we're continuing to watch that. I'm not seeing anything on terminal out of Cleveland in Trumbull County. But the nice thing is we got a very good shot of Trumbull County very close to the radar site.
Yeah, and real quick too, getting more pictures of hail out of Lakeview area there near Indian Lake, and also some new severe thunderstorm warnings starting to pop up as well. Southern Shelby County, northeastern Miami County, gonna have to watch that area pretty closely, and also western Champaign County. And I'm also keeping an eye on northern Darke County, north of Greenville on 127, seeing a newly developing storm. We're starting to see some new storms firing up kind of ahead of the main line. Remember earlier we talked about that there was an outflow boundary kind of sagging south through the Miami Valley, and we're starting to see some pretty healthy storms kind of taking over. So let's kind of zoom into the Piqua area right there along I-75, and we can kind of take a look from the terminal Doppler out of Dayton. And an interesting signature here. I think we may have a good looking downburst happening, looking from the terminal in Dayton. If you want to take a look at that and maybe analyze that yourself, but looking right there near Lockington, we've got winds going toward the radar and away from the radar in the same area, and you can actually see that outflow boundary pretty clearly there too. But I definitely think we have a downburst going on there on 75, kind of straddling that Shelby-Miami County line there. You're kind of seeing that there. And what we mean by a downburst is, again, kind of like Owen mentioned earlier, you blow air into a straw down. That's the way that the damage may be happening right now. So remember, greens are going toward the radar site in Wilmington, and I'll kind of illustrate this for you with the Telestrator tool. Remember, greens are going toward the radar site, in this case in Dayton, and reds are going the opposite way. So we have winds blowing away, kind of, I guess I don't want to say tearing apart necessarily, but that's kind of the way, kind of splitting apart, if you will. Just kind of drew that on the screen there for you so you can kind of see that. Sometimes those downbursts can produce some pretty decent damage too, Owen. It doesn't necessarily have to be 60 miles per hour per se.
No, not at all. And kind of looking at what you were saying, yeah, I wouldn't be surprised to see some downburst winds there as well. But also kind of looking here, and I'm flipping over and looking at some pretty good, healthy winds that are still in the Cleveland area. I wouldn't be surprised if we see some hail as well coming out of that area, especially over towards where are we at on this one? I got my orientation. Well, there we go. Over near Shaker Heights, Cleveland Heights area. Wouldn't be surprised seeing some stuff over there that we're continuing to monitor. Some stronger wind gusts and stronger hail potential there with this, and starting to see in some areas, which is towards Summit County, we're starting to see kind of a Boeing structure a little bit on some of this with some inflows. So we're going to have to watch that. I'm particularly looking near Northfield and Macedonia in
I
that
see
particular
that.
area. So keeping an eye on that. It's starting to bow, and we're starting to get an inflow notch. So that's one that we'll have to continue to monitor there. It's sneaking in there. That inflow notch is very sneaky, that we'll keep an eye on as it continues to move there towards Summit County. And off towards Portage County as well. But wouldn't be surprised, Nick, on the backside, what you're seeing down there at Dayton, very, very interesting and strong winds, especially down there. So Bell Fountain and North Lewisburg, West Liberty, wouldn't be surprised there as well. Even coming out of Cleveland weather, weight radar, and I need to be looking out of Wilmington down there, and we flip. But very strong even on the Cleveland radar side. So keeping an eye on that as well. Wouldn't be surprised, like you said, to see some downburst type winds over there
Yeah, and
as
here's
well.
another interesting report too out of northwestern Pennsylvania, Owen, just coming out of the Cleveland chat. Quarter-size hail in Erie County, which doesn't seem significant until you read that hail has damaged some vehicles and tore off some window screens, which would lead me to believe that wind could have been potentially wind-driven.
Yeah.
So that could certainly cause some problems. So we're getting some reports there out of Elgin, Pennsylvania, there in Erie County. Hail damage to some vehicles and tore off some window screens. We'll have to see if there's any more that comes of that. But, and that's another good point. If we are seeing hail, it could be wind driven. So another reason to stay away from windows, because the last thing you need is, to try to, trying to look outside, and all of a sudden a hailstone shatters that glass right out that window that you're looking. So that's the last thing we want to see.
Yeah, absolutely. That's why we're always saying, hey, get away from windows, get to the lowest level. Not necessarily in your basement, but get to the low level of your house and stay away from windows. Common sense would, hopefully lead us to that because of those wind gusts. I mean, if you have a punch of downburst winds, microburst winds, or even straight line winds that are pushing 70, 80 miles an hour, if you get the right concentration there, you can blow out the window. And or the hail could as well and cause some damage. So just make sure that you're keeping that in mind as well. Along with Nick, I know I had you turn off the lightning and stuff, but we're seeing lightning as well along this pretty good healthy lightning across the storm and across the line that's tracking as well. Although that doesn't make a storm severe, but we're seeing some strong lightning across the area as well. So we're continuing to see. We were at about 800 strikes a little bit ago. We're coming down just a little bit, but it's weakening here in kind of that middle section back towards Lima, Hardin, Marion, Wyandotte counties. So wouldn't be surprised there. But still some good healthy lightning and some. I still am looking near Twinsburg. That still has got me just sitting here looking at it. And if I'm looking at anything on the map, my eyes keep focusing back towards the Twinsburg area there at Summit County. Kind of looking at that Boeing structure there out ahead of that, so I wouldn't be surprised there.
Yeah, I was watching that
with
too,
that.
and I just remembered that I can actually turn down the size of those strikes, so now they're not as
Potent.
overbearing, so to speak. So they're a little smaller, so we can still kind of keep an eye on the lightning count there. So hopefully,
New warning there, Nick. New warning for Auglaize, Dark, Mercer, and Shelby.
yeah. So I was getting ready just to mention that, and this is back in the Miami Valley. This is going to be for that storm in Dark County that I mentioned. I do believe. Let's see if I'm right. Yep, that's going to be for the Minster area south of Salina there towards New Weston, Burkittsville, Versailles, kind of west of 75. And these are all baseline warnings. Okay, so these are not your destructive warnings. But and I'm also kind of watching that Miami County storm there near Piqua try to take a supercell type structure, and that is out there by itself. It is the furthest south storm that we have right now, so we'll have to watch that as well. And also the one there. Actually heading towards the Honda plant right now, just to the due west of Marysville, also kind of taking some interesting characteristics there too. So we'll have to kind of watch these supercells. Just because they're supercells does not necessarily mean that they will become tornadic, but it is worth mentioning that supercells typically produce the most prolific hail. They tend to have the best hail chances, and we're seeing that right now on the east side of West Liberty. Say that again, the east side of West Liberty, just to the east of US 68, that's heading toward the Honda plant there, which is located along US 33 on the Logan Union County line. So again, I don't think it's shift change right now, but obviously a lot of folks work there at Honda, so hopefully their vehicles will be okay. If you have a chance, if you're way out ahead of this, Marysville, even Delaware, if you have a chance, might just move the cars indoors just as a course of caution, and prevent yourself from having to deal with what some folks in Erie County, PA are dealing with broken windows and torn window screens. So definitely want to try to avoid that type of damage if you can do so. So we're kind of watching that as well. And also an interesting little thunderstorm was developed down at the Wilmington radar site. Very small right now and just kind of in the early developing stages. So we'll kind of see how that progresses along. And the good news is right now across central Indiana, these storms are relatively tame right now. But they will be moving into a slightly more favorable environment over the next hour as they approach Richmond and Muncie. So we'll kind of watch and see if things maybe start to intensify just a little bit. Obviously, right now the Buckeye State is kind of taking the brunt of the work right now, along with northwestern Pennsylvania and southwestern New York. Again, I'll kind of zoom this out for you. We have an unbroken line of severe thunderstorm warnings now from Mansfield to Buffalo. If it wasn't for the Marion area, we would have an unbroken line of warnings all the way back to essentially the Ohio-Indiana state line. So relatively impressive line of storms. We continue to monitor this really heavy line of thunderstorms with a lot of heavy rainfall. Interesting, too, here into the Greenville, PA area, kind of seeing a new spike up, if you will, of some stronger heavy rain there, and also and kind of very indicative on the Cleveland radar now. Northern Summit County, I know you've been watching that area pretty closely, but you can also see in Medina what looks like an outflow boundary there. But again, even right there along that gust front, you can get some pretty strong winds that could produce some damage there too.
Yeah, and I believe just because we're kind of covering ORW, which is Ohio Oil Region Weather, our friends, Mercer County over in Pennsylvania, just over the line there near Greenville, that has taken some pretty good shapes with some pretty good inflow there. So have to wait and see. I'm looking out of Cleveland as you were kind of pointing that out, and looking at normalized rotation there, and that's definitely starting to rotate. So have to keep an eye on that for our friends over there in ORW. Keep a very close eye on that one as well. That's what we're looking at. Back in Trumbull County, definitely seeing straight line winds. Everything I'm seeing is wind at this point, not a lot of rotation at all, but definitely packing some punches of wind through Trumbull County, kind of looking that out and pointing that out. Especially if you flip over to Pittsburgh, it shows it very, very clearly there in Trumbull County. Wouldn't be surprised back in Twinsburg as well if we kind of work backwards, going back towards Twinsburg in that area. Seeing some very good hail returns come through there. We got a 1-inch hail marker still coming out of the Summit County area, and Portage County. We're seeing some pretty strong, hail returns on that, along with some pretty good wind gusts. Moving back down to the south now, too. I know there's some talk there. Looking at the terminal Doppler out of Dayton, there's some broad rotation. It's not tight at all at this particular moment in time, but we're keeping an eye on that, but nothing too indicative right now. But we're continuing to watch that as it moves off here in Miami County at this point. But it's very broad, very disorganized at this particular moment in time. But pretty much, if you're anywhere in these warnings, I say this plethora of warnings, make sure that you are just getting indoors, staying away from windows. We're going to kind of say that over and over and over again because of the hail risk and some of these wind gust risks that we're seeing. But the stronger winds, again, looking here down in our southern counties, I want to give you a little bit of love down there. North Lewisburg, West Liberty, you're under it right now. You're probably seeing some very heavy rain right now. Obviously, lightning. We're seeing lots of lightning in that particular storm. And as we kind of move north there, moving into the Mount Victory area, Ridgeway and Bell Center and Rushsylvania. That's a new one. I didn't know that even existed. But heads up to you, West Mansfield as well. You're going to get ready to get on some of these wind gusts actions here in just a few minutes. Not necessarily hail going on in that area, but you're going to see some pretty strong wind gusts and kind of pack that punch. The good thing is once it moves past you, it's pretty much over for today. We're starting to see the severe thunderstorm watch be trimmed back. I know here in Sandusky County in northern Ohio it was trimmed out already. So once it passes, it's pretty much over for the day. And kind of checking in a little bit, Nick. We haven't checked in here in a little bit. Power outages are starting to creep up in the area up near Cleveland. Still the winner on power outages, if you want to call it that, 5,300 people out there in Logan County still. And on Cleveland, we're starting to see now, kind of in retrospect, Cuyahoga County right now, 23,000 people are out. So they would actually take the win. I'm not sure why the map looks a little bit different, but percentage of county out. So they're a little bit less as far as percentage of county, but 23,000 people, Cuyahoga County, 1,700 over in Geauga County, Lake County, about 6,200, Lorain County, 3,400, and Ashtabula County, 2,600, and a few people now out in Crawford County, minimal of about 400 people, but 23,000 up in Cuyahoga County. So some, we have a flash flood warning up there right now, along with we have destructive winds that were possible over in that area. So wouldn't be surprised, and I'm not surprised to see these type of numbers with 23,000 people out of power in Cuyahoga County as this continues to progress here over the next several hours. We're starting to see some other storms too, Nick, that's interesting, starting to pop up here just kind of on the outflow of this thing. Little tiny cells near, like you said, the Wilmington radar site. So it's kind of interesting to see what's going on down there with our friends in Wilmington. But again, if you're along this line, you're going to see it. It's going to rain. It's going to rain pretty hard. You're going to get some good wind gusts, and it's going to be over. And it's going to be over in the matter of minutes. So make sure that you are adhering to and respecting those polygons.
Another thing, too, to kind of point out, we're kind of seeing what I would call a transient supercell type structure, but there's 3 of them in a row down here in the Miami Valley. You've got the one there in northeastern Darke County, the one in Miami and Shelby County, so to speak, and then the one on the Logan-Champaign County line. I mean, and I had a little area circled a little earlier, too. We are seeing lightning strikes far away from these storms. I mean, even down in Troy, which is a good, probably at least 10 miles from Piqua, we are seeing lightning, way out in advance of any thunderstorm activity. So just serves as that reminder. If you hear thunder, you are close enough to be struck by lightning and you need to move indoors. So let's talk about what a supercell is and kind of what it looks like. So again, keep in mind that we have storms that are here, kind of by themselves, and they typically carry the best chance of large hail, and on a better day, they carry the best chance of tornadoes too. But essentially a supercell is kind of a larger thunderstorm, and they tend to have a little bit of a hook on the backside of them. And as you can see, we have 3 areas that kind of have this kidney bean type shape a little bit. I don't want to say cockeyed so much, but they're turned a little bit of a different direction than what we might be used to seeing. But these transient supercell structures right now here across the Miami Valley carrying some of the best chance of large hail and that hail could be quarter size, could be a little bit larger than that. We've seen multiple reports of quarter size hail, which, again, that is the baseline for severe thunderstorm warnings, but we've seen what it can do up in Erie County, Pennsylvania. Tore some window screens off. So if that hail is wind driven, again, stresses that importance of staying inside, let the storm pass, then we can see the aftermath. I did just get video out of Fort Wayne, Indiana, of the storm that came through there from a ring camera. Also kind of looking at some things in the old Brooklyn area, which I actually just got a report of some hail. In a video, you can actually hear it, and somebody's actually sitting under a tree while it's hailing. That's probably not the best advice, but certainly seeing some more reports of hail, and that just kind of confirms too, Owen, what we've been seeing up there. You know, the radar returns right now up there in the Cleveland area, we're not seeing widespread hail, certainly just a few pockets, but, you know, we're still seeing, you know, some of those reports of hail coming in. If you look at the ONW inbox there from Jake Andrix, we're seeing that video there from the old Brooklyn neighborhood in Cleveland, which I'm not sure if that's in the flash flood warning or not. Mike or Adriana would probably be able to tell us that. And also there's a report now at 7:20, so this is within the last 30 minutes, 1.5-inch hail in Parma. Now, we really have not seen that deep of purple in Cuyahoga County, so maybe we are seeing some, those updrafts, maybe, a little bit more substantial and just the right pocket, if you will, Owen, and some of those hailstones a little larger. You get up to 1.5 inches, you're probably going to have some broken windshields, more widespread than what we've already have heard of today.
Yeah, absolutely. And so we're looking here, Franklin County, Delaware County, Madison County, and Union County.
Yeah.
You're now in on the action. You have a severe thunderstorm warning that's in effect there for you until 8:45. So they're getting ahead of the action there with that. It's still kind of a ways away, but Delaware County and portions of Franklin County, guess what? You're now under a severe thunderstorm warning as well. Not surprising looking at that. So it's for portions of Franklin County and Delaware County as we're looking at that. So looking into the Columbus metro area, we're looking at the cities of Dublin, Hilliard, Powell, even Shawnee Hills, portions of Worthington, Lewis Center, and points to the northwest, and pretty much all of Delaware County except the eastern portion of Delaware County and Union County. So that's a fairly big polygon that they've issued, but not surprised on that. We're seeing some very, very deep purples there near West Liberty, 1-inch hail marker in North Lewisburg. Even coming back on our normalized rotation side, we're starting to see some rotation going on there as well. So we're keeping a very close eye on that. Nick, you might want to take a look at that and see what you think there as well. Near North Lewisburg,
okay.
Right there. So you might want to take a look at that, just south there. But keeping an eye on that inflow notch.
Yeah. So what Owen's kind of referring to, again, we have reds and greens, and again, greens are going towards the radar, reds are going away. And by the way, just send out another push notification for those of you that may just now be getting put under warnings, and even those of you that are way down in advance. We're kind of watching, the overall risk of severe weather this evening across the entire Bell Park Weather Network coverage areas. So even if you're way on in advance of this, just to kind of give you a reminder this evening, we are live on YouTube. And you can watch us live in the app, and you can kind of let know what's going on in your area, or perhaps maybe you have some relatives kind of in the path of this too. So kind of watching this at this particular point in time. And I believe the sky cam is off. However, we've had some issues with the ticker this evening, so I'm not sure if you have a second to look at that.
Okay.
Let's see if it's up and working right now. Okay, yes, it is now working. So we had some issues a little earlier this afternoon with
I had a reboot, so I rebooted. I noticed that myself, so
okay.
I rebooted there, making sure. But yeah, continuing to see, and it could be some hail reflectivity, but definitely some broad rotation going on there. Lewisburg, excuse me. 1 second here. Kind of looking here, but we are starting to see in that North Lewisburg area up to 1 3/4 inch hail coming back on radar. So wouldn't be surprised again to see that continue. They obviously issued that one there for portions of Union County as these boundaries start to converge just a little bit here, but keeping a close eye on that particular area right now as well.
Ticker's up and working now. So we
All
got that
right.
open.
Yay. All
Yep,
right.
so
I
now you
just
guys can
noticed.
see all of the warnings scrolling at the bottom of your screen if you have any particular interest in one location or another. And a new warning now for Youngstown and Akron and Canton until 9:15. I would imagine we're going to see Wayne County and the rest of Ashland County put in shortly. Crawford County, at this point, you're in the clear. Seneca County, you're in the clear as well. I know there's still a warning out there, but we're kind of keeping an eye on that as well. Let's see here. Looks like Ken may have also been out a little bit as well in Sugar Creek, Pennsylvania. There, we'll try to get that up on air in a little bit. Kind of watching Mercer County, PA. Still, that cell's still trying to show some interesting characteristics of some things, and there's some pretty large warnings. Obviously, give folks as
Oop,
much
tornado warning.
tornado warning. Who you
Hello.
got?
Champaign, Logan, and Union.
All right, so we now have a tornado warning in effect for Champaign and Union counties. So let's
Logan,
jump right
too.
in. Or sorry, Champaign and Logan
And Union.
and Union. Okay, so this is going to include the Honda plant, North Lewisburg, Woodstock, and Marysville. So pretty decent populated areas here. You're also going to be talking US 36 from north of Mechanicsburg out to Marysville. Ohio Route 4 out here as well as you're taking your way north of Mechanicsburg. Again, US 33. It's a pretty substantial spot there. Definitely need to make sure that you are getting to that tornado safe place. And it's been a while this evening since we have reviewed some of our tornado precautions. So again, if you're under this tornado warning, you need to be in a safe spot now. This means you need to put as many walls between you and the outside as possible. We are definitely seeing increasing signs of rotation from the Wilmington radar. And let's also take a look at this from the terminal Doppler. Yeah, we're seeing some rotation there as well, right over North Lewisburg. Not going to necessarily say that
we
there's
called that, Nick.
yeah, you definitely did. We're continuing to watch this very closely. This is moving east to 25, so North Lewisburg. This is on 245 right now. If you kind of take that east, that takes you to where 33 kind of curves around Marysville. You've got the Kroger, and I believe that's a marketplace there as well on the curve. And then you're kind of taking 33 the further northwest you go. This is not quite the Plain City area, not quite the Scotts facility, but as you work your way further west on 33, this is at 739 287. That's Honda Parkway. You've got the Honda manufacturing plant is, I believe, in the tornado warning polygon. So those folks are hopefully taking their shelters as well. But again, put yourself below ground. Put as many walls between you and the outside. And the other thing, Owen, bicycle helmet or sofa cushions, something to protect your head. Probably the most important thing as you're going to shelter.
Yeah, and also I did want to point out, Nick, I know we don't want to take away from ONW coverage area, but there's a new tornado warning for the ORW area as well.
Yes,
over for Mercer County. Yep. So we're going to kind of be flipping back and forth. We are going to be going to Pennsylvania. We're covering some areas over there tonight for some sister pages that we have that we normally don't cover on ONW, but we're going to cover it tonight. So we're going to kind of be bouncing back and forth here a little bit between these two warnings. So I'm going to go ahead and read the warning over here. Looking at for Mercer County and you're gonna have to help me because it's been a while.
That's gonna be for Mercer and Venango, I believe.
There you go.
I believe Ken
Venango.
is actually not too far from this. So if we see something, he's going to tell us relatively quickly, I would imagine.
And a new warning for severe thunderstorm warning. Big one for Ashland, Huron, Lorain, Medina, Richland, and Wayne until 9.
Yep.
So we're starting to fire up the warning. So I'm going to quickly read this real quick. So East Central Mercer County, Southwestern Venango County, and Northwestern Pennsylvania, you are under tornado warning until 8:30. So make sure you're getting to the lowest level of your house. Put as many walls between you and the outside as possible. Cover your neck and head. That's obviously the most prone for deadly and death, and I can't think of the word right now, but make sure you're covering your neck and head. Flipping back over to our other tornado warning here for Ohio. This is for northeastern Champaign County, southeastern Logan County, southwestern Union County until 8:30. So they're looking here North Lewisburg. North Lewisburg, we were talking about this just a few minutes ago, some rotation there, moving east at 25 miles an hour. Quarter-size hail is also possible with this particular storm. Again, you need to make sure that you're protecting your neck and head, bicycle helmet, whatever you have to protect that neck and head. Get to the lowest level of your house and put as many walls between you and the outside as possible. So we have North Lewisburg, Marysville, Milford Center, Woodstock, if you're in those towns, and pretty much Peoria as well. Make sure that you're seeking shelter with this. Unionville Center is also in on that action. So make sure you're seeking shelter. We're seeing some pretty good rotation with this and very clear inflow notch. I don't know how much clearer we can get with this, but
I
just
agree with
south of
you.
New Lewisburg there, North Lewisburg, very, very clear inflow notch, especially showing on reflectivity now, along with velocity. So very, very clear there as well, along with a plethora of other severe thunderstorm warnings right now that we're not going to be able to kind of cover, but we'll
Yeah.
continue to show you
The only one that I
as we
do want to
zoom out.
briefly touch on, Owen, is the one for Franklin and Delaware County. They've increased
Yes,
that to 70-mile-per-hour winds on that, and that's likely in
sure.
association with this tornado warning storm. So there's your inflow notch right there over North Lewisburg. Again, you've got your air coming in out of the south and southeast. The winds are likely backed just enough for a little bit of a rotation signature to start to pop up there. So again, that is just to the south of the Honda manufacturing plant. Again, that's going to be moving right into southwestern Union County near Milford Center. Rosewood, I believe, is in the path of this as well. You've got Marysville, and again, 33. There should be nobody driving right now. If you're coming out of Columbus, out of Dublin, as you're passing the Dublin Methodist Hospital and you're passing that exit for 161, stop right there. Do not go any further. Wait until this storm gets past you. Maybe just hold off on traveling altogether. Likewise, if you're coming down 33 out of Indian Lake, once you get to US 68, maybe you just stop and have some least chicken there, or just stop there for a while and just let this storm pass by. Do not let yourself, don't get in this. This is good. If you're coming in out of Bellefontaine, this is going to be a rain wrap situation. You're not going to be able to see what's going on. If you're in Mechanicsburg looking north, you might be able to tell us what's going on, but really should probably not be outside. There's a good amount of lightning happening there right now. So again, these areas in particular, we're talking one tornado warning there, so there's your inflow notch. We'll bounce back to the other one here in Pennsylvania as well. It's kind of good to bounce back around and ensure that we're covering everybody the best we can. Also monitoring southwestern Shelby County near Sydney. That cell starting to take a little bit of a rotation characteristic to that as well. Let's take you over into northwestern Pennsylvania now, around Mercer and Venango County. Again, this particular storm, I'm not seeing a ton now as I did several minutes ago with rotation, at least from the Pittsburgh radar site. Let's go over to Cleveland just to see. These radar dead zones are really frustrating. We're far away. I'm not seeing much on either radar site, but again, let's take you right into the kind of where the strongest part of this is. And again, Ken McNatt was actually in the path of this, and he's moving away from it now, just as we know that he would. But Jackson Center, Mercer, Barkeyville, Clintonville, there's I-80 and I-79. If you're north of 80 and east of 79, be in that safe place. Again, make sure you're protecting your head and neck. And this one also very much a rain-wrapped situation. It looks like Ken McNatt would like to join us, so let me get him added in here. He can kind of let us know what he is seeing out there this evening. And there's the people. Let's add, and we'll get him added in here. And while we're kind of waiting for that to happen, kind of updating you on that. That's a pretty intense looking line there. And in fact, I think the inflow notch might be on the back side of that, potentially kind of coming in on the backside from Greenville. There's kind of an area of rain or lower reflectivity there. We're kind of watching that, and now Ken McNatt is here. And Ken, what are you seeing on that storm there in northwestern PA?
Okay, I'm actually heading toward the top of 15th Street Hill in Franklin to get a better vantage point of what's going on. There is a lot of heavy rain in Franklin right now. I'm at the corner of Washington Crossing and Liberty Street. Ton of heavy rain. There might be some small hail there. There is a lot of ponding on the roads right now.
Okay, that does not surprise me. Very heavy rain. Yeah, there's some pretty heavy rain with this entire line. So we're going to kind of watch that pretty closely. And again, there's a pretty healthy looking line as well coming through Northeast Ohio, Akron down into Canton and Youngstown. We've not forgotten about you, but obviously right now we're kind of bouncing back and forth between two different tornado warnings. So let's kind of jump back to the one in Ohio just briefly. Inflow notch still very present there over North Lewisburg at 245 north of Woodstock. That's going to be at 245 and 559 north of US 36. Again, that's coming right towards Marysville. That's the county seat of Union County. And we're seeing some pretty still decent signs of rotation here. Your reds are going away from the radar and your greens are going toward the radar. So when you see those two relatively close together, I know it's not the cleanest looking signature, but it is something worth monitoring. Let's jump over to the terminal in Dayton because we have another vantage point we can check there. Yeah, I'm still seeing at least some rotation there at this point in time. And Ken, I know you're there in Venango County, if I'm not mistaken, if we've pronounced that correctly. Not necessarily familiar. You're the expert over there, but not seeing a whole lot on radar that kind of tells me that there's some rotation necessarily. I do think there's a pretty strong outflow boundary coming past Jackson Center right now, kind of right along I-80 there towards the community of Polk and Clintonville there as well. But have you heard anything from any of your viewers this evening? I know we had the report out of Erie County of some window screens kind of blown out and some car windows busted. But have you heard of anything else going on up there?
Ken, just a heads up, I did mute you there for a second because of the background noise that was coming in off the rain.
I got
I was
you.
over washing everybody else, so you have to unmute there, Ken.
Oh, okay. I think he's working on that, so we'll get him back in there in just a second. Yeah, good point on that, Owen. I did not think about that, and I just had a really loud rumble of thunder here in Columbus, and I saw a little bit of flickering, so hopefully we're still on. I'm pretty sure we are. So kind of watching things here pretty closely. Again, 2 active tornado warnings, one from Mercer County, Pennsylvania, and Venango County until 8:30. Another 19 minutes on that one. And also down here into Champaign, Logan, and Union County until 8:15. That one radar indicated. So that warning is set to expire in 4 minutes.
Here we go.
Yeah,
there you go.
There you go. Ahead,
Finally
Ken.
figured it out. But yeah, I'm still pursuing it. But I think it's getting to the point now where even if I see anything, I'm not going to see much of anything. I'm going to try to get some pictures and video and relay that into you and see where we go from there. But I'll keep watching it.
We have a new tornado warning for who?
For Medina and Wayne.
Okay, so yep, let's jump into that one now. So we're going to have 3 active tornado warnings now at this point in the Bell Park Weather Network coverage area. So we're going to have to kind of be very patient as we bounce back and forth. Let's get this new polygon to pop up here for us. And let's see, kind of waiting for it to come up on the screen here right now. There it is. Okay, relatively small polygon, but you got the community of Rittman, Doylestown, Marshallville, Seville, Wadsworth, and Creston. And and this one also, I believe, is radar indicated. Yes, it is. And also has quarter-inch hail potential. Are you seeing any signs on any of the radars of anything? Okay, I see it there on Cleveland, actually, I think.
Yep.
Just to the south of 71 and 76. So you're going to have to watch that. And Ken, I'm not sure if you are still listening or perhaps... Okay, I don't think he is. Just got a report in not too far from him of trees down in and around Sandy Lake there in Mercer County. And also trees down in and around the Sharon area. So we're watching that as well. And then again, Owen, looks like they have continued the tornado warning until 8:30 now for Champaign, Logan, and Union. Moving east at 25, and we have this newest one here, which has a pretty decent-looking velocity return there on the Medina and Wayne County lines.
Yeah, so kind of reviewing all these real quick. I know we got 3 tornado warnings that are active, 1 in Pennsylvania, 2 in Ohio that we're covering right now. Looking here at the newest tornado warning. So if you're in Seville, I know this area very well. So if you're in Seville or Sterling or Creston or even Rittman, there's a very strong return and normalized rotation that we're looking at, pretty much dead center of all those cities. So right just to the southeast of Seville, make sure that you are seeking shelter. That's a very clear return heading towards the city of possibly Wadsworth that we're looking at there. So, but if you're in any one of those areas, Creston, Doylestown, Marshallville, again, Wadsworth, let me pick up some other towns here, Sterling, Marshallville, make sure that you are seeking shelter. If you're in any one of these 3 tornado warnings, you need to make sure you're seeking shelter. So kind of going to bounce around here real quick. We have this new tornado warning. I'm going to read it here for you real quick. Southeastern Medina County, northeastern Wayne County until 8:45. That tornado warning goes until 8:45. And locations impacted include Wadsworth, Rittman, Doylestown, Creston, Seville, and Marshallville. Going to bounce down to the south. Going to bounce to the southern tornado warning here in our coverage area near Marysville and covering the town of Marysville. So there is a tornado warning that is issued. It was just outside of North Lewisburg, and it's moving east at 25 miles an hour. So we do have a tornado warning that remains in effect there until 8:30 p.m. for east central Champaign, southeastern Logan counties, and southwestern Union County. Again, that goes until 8:30 for that warning, and includes some of those towns, like I said, including Marysville. So make sure that you're seeking shelter there. Milford Center, Unionville Center, even in Peoria, just portions of Peoria is probably in that as well. So make sure you're seeking shelter. I'm watching the ODOT cameras down there. There is definitely some ODOT cameras there into the Route
Yeah.
36.
Hey, Owen,
That-
real quick too. Weather Service in Wilmington is
Yep.
probably about to issue a destructive warning for Delaware County. Yep, it's coming right now for western Delaware County. A destructive severe thunderstorm warning is coming momentarily. They are seeing some winds up to 80 miles per hour right now, with significant wind damage being possible. My guess is that they're likely seeing that from the terminal Doppler. And oh, yes, absolutely. Wow. Coming right through Magnetic Springs and O Strain. If you are in the city of Delaware right now, I would treat this as a tornado warning, even though you are not under one. We are seeing some very vivid returns of upwards of 85 miles per hour on the terminal Doppler radar out of Columbus, which, oh, and that radar is looking a lot closer to the ground.
Yeah.
So definitely concerned. I mean, I know we have 3 tornado warnings, but you may as well call this a 4th when we're seeing winds of this magnitude coming into the county seat right now of Delaware County. So we are coming. We will see that warning issued anytime now for the city of Delaware. So just get in that safe place now, tornado safe place that is. Winds of 80 miles per hour can do a number of things. We've already seen wind-driven hail this evening. I know, and wind-driven hail at 80 miles per hour is not does not sound very fun. So folks have got to be getting indoors, and I would treat it as a tornado warning at this point.
Yeah, so we got now 4 areas that we're going to kind of bounce back and forth
Yep.
with. So we have this area that we're talking about, this tornado warning that is for Union County's portion of Union County, Champaign County, and Logan County. There is a new severe thunderstorm warning that is coming. They're basically writing it up as we speak. We're being told that it is coming, so we're keeping an eye on that as well for Delaware, portions of Delaware County. So very, very destructive winds up to 80 miles an hour. We use that word destructive because, again, you need to make sure that 80-mile-an-hour wind gusts, you're starting to approach EF1 speeds almost. Looking back here, kind of bouncing around. So I know we got lots of areas to cover, but kind of looking here at our southern tornado warning, Marysville, this still looks pretty good. We're still seeing some pretty good returns, and bouncing between radar sites is definitely something to that gets a little bit overbearing sometimes. But if you're in Marysville or anywhere in this polygon, yes, you need to make sure you're seeking shelter. The rotation, I can tell you, on this particular tornado warning isn't as pronounced as it once was. But all the less, we need to treat this again and respect that polygon, and especially for portions there, of that severe thunderstorm warning that already exists for Delaware County. Yeah, destructive. They upgraded that one. Yeah, that's what they did. They upgraded the one for Delaware and Union to destructive. So not a new one, but just keeping the same one that they already got up to destructive right now. 80-mile-an-hour wind gusts that we're seeing. Kind of moving up here towards Seville, looking at the middle tornado warning near the town of Creston and Rittman. We're continuing to see some rotation there as well. So make sure, again, if you're in portions of Medina County, if you're in portions of Wayne County, you need to make sure that you're seeking shelter. Still seeing some very good, strong returns just outside of the city of Rittman. The inflow notch is very, very clear, even on just straight reflectivity. It's kind of that 6 hook that's coming in just outside of Rittman. So you need to be in your tornado safe shelters at this time. And then also, we can't forget about our friends over in Pennsylvania. You are still under a tornado warning as well that we're looking at here for portions of central Mercer and southwestern Venango counties. That goes again until 8:30. So you need to be making sure you're in your tornado safe shelters as well, as that one's still not as pronounced as it once was. We still have an inflow notch there just north of Grove City that we're looking at, and towards Clintonville. Just north of Clintonville, there's also an inflow notch on the front side of that up towards Franklin, and just south of Franklin there in Venango County. So make sure, again, if you're in any one of the areas that I just mentioned, get to the lowest level of your house. That means a basement. If you don't have a basement, get to that lowest level of your house and make sure that you put as many walls between you and the outside as possible. We want to make sure that you, again, protect your neck and head as well, as that's the most vulnerable part of your body. So make sure you protect your neck and head. Get to the lowest level of your house. Put as many walls between you and the outside as possible, Nick.
Yeah. Oh, and I'm zooming back into Delaware because now we are seeing winds approaching 90 and 95, and these are not just 1 or 2 pixels. These are relatively these are multiple pixels of winds over 90 miles per hour. So the strongest winds right now are on Ohio Route 37 and Ohio Route 257 coming up on US 23. This is a very heavily traveled thoroughfare, even for this time of the night. Heavily traveled truck traffic coming in and out of Columbus. Folks, if you are in Delaware, I cannot stress enough how important it is that you get to that safe place. If you are near the Columbus Zoo and points north, you are under a destructive severe thunderstorm warning. And I mean this. Get away from your windows. Do not go outside. If you are driving, please try to find a more substantial shelter. And even if you're in a mobile home, you've got to find a more substantial shelter. 80 plus mile per hour winds can completely take a mobile home off its anchoring and flip it. So please find a more substantial shelter. I understand it's not a tornado warning, but when we start seeing this tag in this red box that you see over here to the left-hand side where it says destructive, it really doesn't get much more serious and much more alarming than that. You have got to be in that safe place right now in Delaware because of this destructive severe thunderstorm warning. I pray for you. And those winds are, and that's not something to mess with. We don't normally see velocity returns like this. And when we start to see these, obviously our tone is certainly elevated, but really can't hit it home any harder than you've got to get below ground at this point.
Yeah, so catastrophic would be the next one. Just so you know, the tornado warning for Champaign, Logan, and Union counties has expired. They went ahead and canceled that tornado warning now because they were looking at that, and they're saying that it has weakened significantly. So they went ahead and canceled for Champaign, Logan, and Union County. So that tornado warning no longer exists. Nevertheless, Nick was just talking about the destructive winds that the National Weather Service are tagging there near the town of Delaware and city of Delaware. You need to make sure that you are in still kind of treated as a tornado warning. Get to that lowest level of your house. Stay away from windows. That's very important. We do have an update, too, as well on the tornado warning in Pennsylvania. So bouncing over to Pennsylvania, it is now just in effect for Venango County. It's no longer in effect for Mercer County. Very small area there near Clintonville over in Pennsylvania. So, again, make sure that you are seeking shelter as well. We're kind of going to bounce back into that middle tornado warning that's now being continued here for Wayne County, Ohio. They continue the tornado warning for Wayne County. They just updated this warning. We'll see it trimmed here in just a second. I believe they took out Medina County on that. I'm pretty sure they did. But we're starting to see that one die down just a little bit. But that has now crossed through the town of Rittman, just moving to the southwest of Doylestown, heading towards Marshallville. So we're seeing that one die down just a little bit, but you're still under a tornado warning. Still have an inflow notch there as well. We're hoping here in Delaware County that these start to subside, but the word catastrophic would be the next one up, Nick, if we were to get to that point. So hopefully it doesn't get there. We're already at destructive, so you need to make sure, again, Delaware County, time is up. Get to the lowest level of your house. Stay away from windows. Treat it as a tornado warning because, again, winds that are picking up on radar indicated winds picking up towards 90 miles an hour, if not some isolated 100-mile-an-hour spots as well. So we're continuing to see that. Now, just keep in mind that tornado warning is expired. I know it's probably not dropped off your screen just yet there, Nick, but it probably won't until 8:30, which is about another 5 minutes or so, but it is expired. So if you're in Union County, Champaign County, that tornado warning, and Logan County, that tornado warning is expired. Also, the tornado warning is now expired for Venango County in Pennsylvania. So we only have one active tornado warning now that is up for Wayne County, and we're seeing returns on the Cleveland radar of up to 80 knots just north of Delaware. So think about that one just for a second. 80 knots, Nick. That is crazy. That's 92 miles an hour if you didn't do the conversion. That's 92 miles an hour.
Yeah, I'm telling you, folks. And there's the updated scan. I've got the terminal Doppler in Columbus up here. Boy, 96 now. It is crossing 23 right now, just to north of 36. Folks, I cannot tell you what else to do at this point. You have got to get below ground, and I will go ahead and use the word catastrophic. This terminal Doppler radar is looking less than 2,000 feet above the ground at this point. I cannot stress enough. The city of Delaware, looks like the Weather Service in Wilmington has issued a new severe thunderstorm warning for Delaware County to include 70-mile-per-hour winds. I'm not sure if that's going to I assume that'll be for the northern portion of the county. because there's some pretty strong winds up there too. But I'm telling you, folks, right now, Delaware and points north. I cannot tell you. Our thoughts are with you, but be in that safe spot. We are streaming live on our app. We are streaming live on Facebook and YouTube. You can watch us in a plethora of places, but you've got to get to that safe place right now. And yes, that is for the northern portion of Delaware County, and even that is considered considerable. So for severe thunderstorm warnings, you have your baseline, which is just considered 60 mile per hour wind. 70 is considerable. 80 is now considered destructive, or anything above that. And again, the terminal Doppler is suggesting winds well over 80 miles per hour, well over 90 miles per hour. So there's some really serious stuff going on right now in Delaware County, and I imagine we will likely start getting some reports if there is, if there is anything at that level happening at the ground. And so, and I know we'll be watching power outages. I would imagine that will also probably start to spike if those wind reports are, indeed hitting the ground. Let's take you back up to our tornado warning real quick. I don't want to bounce too far away from that. We do have another new warning now for Knox, Marion, and Morrow for winds up to 60. That's going to kind of go right along with that Delaware County warning. We'll have to watch and see if that gets upgraded for wind as well. But here in the northeastern Wayne County now, still noticing some pretty decent signs of rotation, maybe a little weaker, but coming down 585 and 94 here into Marshallville. Seeing at least a little bit of signs of rotation here. Again, maybe not as strong as it once was, but there's still a tornado warning here for a reason. And so we are monitoring all of that right now. Looks like we have a tornado warning coming now for Delaware County, it looks like. I'm not sure where Tyler is seeing that, maybe. Okay, I'm not sure where that's coming from just yet, but we'll kind of see what's going on there. But we're also seeing some pretty strong wind readings right now as well in southern portions.
I mean, he's probably seeing it right in Delaware.
Yeah.
Not officially, but if we look at the reflectivity, you got winds that are coming on the outbound side at 36 miles an hour, and then we're looking over right next to it. We got winds at 95.
True.
So
okay, yeah,
that's
it
probably
may as well
what
be.
we're looking at. The inflow notch. Not saying there is a tornado warning, but at this point, you got to treat it as a tornado warning anyway, because winds 90 plus miles an hour that they're seeing on radar, 80 knots is what they officially saw. So it's destructive is a an understatement here with this. So we're saying that. You can kind of hear our voice and our tone in our voice. I'm checking ODOT cameras in the area too, and there's not just right where we want them to be. There's not really one going on there. I know we have another severe thunderstorm warning that's been issued for Champaign, Franklin, Madison, and Union counties as well. I don't know if that one was a little delayed. I don't know if you said that one or not.
No, I think that's actually new. And I'm also going to send out a quick push to the rest of our Delaware County app users, just, to
Sure.
kinda, when we are seeing, things of this magnitude, and I'll direct into our live stream, folks, you have got to be in a safe place right now. And that terminal Doppler, Owen, does not show any signs of getting any weaker anytime soon. I'm very concerned that this could be something that lasts for a while.
Yeah, I mean, straight line wind damage is definitely something that's going to be happening. You kind of see how this is lining out, how this is panning out. Again, don't want to forget about our warning up there in Wayne County. So if you're in Wayne County and Rittman, we are keeping an eye on that one as well. There is some stronger returns coming in on that one now. So especially there's a little draft flank there. Let me take a look there.
Yeah, and
so we're
2 into
keeping an eye on
Delaware. Yeah, and into Delaware, too. I'm also seeing a couple of kinks in the line on the terminal Doppler velocity, so I'm a little concerned that we may actually get a tornado warning at some point here for Delaware County, but the strongest winds right now are just northeast of Delaware, and that's going to be right along US 36 at US 23 and also US 42, kind of where all three of those places come together. And then as you move northeast there towards Ashley is where the strongest winds are. And again, 70 to 80 mile per hour winds all along that line. So just wanted to kind of update you there in Delaware County. Be sure that you are in a tornado safe place at this point. Those winds are very strong, not something to mess around with. Let's take you back up into Wayne County now. Get you an update on the velocity signatures here in the northeastern Wayne County.
It's definitely still there. I'm looking at that one, Nick,
Yeah.
and there's definitely a correlation coefficient. There's some just at the edge of the polygon that's there that's not returning normal, if you will. So kind of getting a better eye on that. That's where the rotation would be on the in hook. So you kind of see there's a little bit of a hook that's trying to form just south of there, just north of Marshallville, just south of Doylestown. That's right where I'm looking too on correlation coefficient. So kind of see that little hook that's on your screen. That's where we're looking at right now.
That.
So I would say that the decision time is now for National Weather Service Cleveland to whether or not they're going to issue this and extend this out towards other counties here for us. Excuse me. As we head over into the western portion of Stark County and western portion of Summit County. So we have to see southwest portion of Summit County. So we'll have to see that as well. But again, those winds down in Delaware County, not really subsiding. We're still pushing 85 miles an hour. So we're pretty much past Delaware now. We're now need to be focusing out ahead of this as well. We're also starting to see some winds really creep up just north of that near Fulton and Cardington as well. So Berkshire, if you're in Berkshire, Sunbury, Bury, Galena, I think, Nick, you would know that one better than I would.
Yep,
Harlem,
you got that right.
You need to make sure you're getting indoors. Some of you are not in a warning yet, but you're going to see it. I can tell you that as this continues to push off. Berkshire, I can't stress that enough. What is it, Marengo?
Yep.
Yeah, all of those towns, you need to make sure that you are, again, treating this pretty much as a tornado warning because of the destructive winds that are possible, getting to the lowest level of your house and seeking shelter. Stay away from windows. I mean, that's just the biggest thing here that we can tell you here. Stay away from those windows. If you're in a car, get out of the car, get to the sturdiest structure that you can. So we're continuing to watch this storm. We're watching the northern one. We do have one official tornado warning, like I said before, and what we've been talking about. We have this one official tornado warning for our friends in Wayne County that goes. What is that one till 8:45 or 8:30? I'm not sure.
That one's gonna be 8:45.
8:45, yeah, 8:45, and pretty much that one's starting to move out of the polygon. So we're going to see here. That one is just, if we're looking at any rotation, we're looking just north of the town of Marshallville. So if we're seeing any rotation, just starting to cross over there near the town of Clinton, we'll have to keep that in mind as well. They just issued a new severe thunderstorm warning. Where's that one? For Delaware and Licking. So that one goes out again here for Delaware and Licking County. They're still using, they're using considerable damage, winds up to 70, but still pushing 70 to 80 mile an hour winds still on radar for our friends in Delaware County. And again, just treat this as a tornado warning and get to the lowest level of your house because the winds are still pushing and we don't think they're going to let up anytime soon here, especially before they get to some of those towns that we were talking about before, like Berkshire and Sunbury. We're also looking at some inflow notches along that line too, Nick, that we'll have to keep an eye on. Right now on your screen, we're considering and we're still seeing the tornado warning there on your screen. So we're going to continue to follow that as well as we kind of bounce back and forth between these two storm cells and these warnings, if you will.
Yeah, so the good news is that the winds have subsided a little bit in Delaware County. So they've issued a new severe thunderstorm warning for Delaware and Licking County for winds up to 70. So we're seeing still some strong winds, but has subsided just a little. I would still stress if you're in Delaware County, sometimes when storms start to collapse, you can get another strong burst of wind. And so if we do start to see that, I'm concerned that the winds could even still be a little bit stronger than that in a couple of spots. So still be in that safe place and just kind of hang tight. We're watching the Marshallville area very closely as well, and not to be completely forgotten about. We know that Akron and Youngstown are getting hit pretty hard right now as well. Mount Vernon, you're going to be next at some point. Columbus, you're under a warning now. The city of Columbus, a severe thunderstorm warning. A new severe thunderstorm warning from Miami County as well. So we are continuing to see new storms, kind of forming and kind of taking over, so to speak. We're also watching some newer storms down toward Wilmington again, so we're not done. We have other areas of concern and interest that we're keeping a very close eye on.
Ooh.
Yeah, go ahead, Owen.
I'm going to tell you this. I don't know what Cleveland's doing or not doing, but just outside of the polygon now, just south of Clinton there in the tornado warning, I was waiting for that scan to come back. Correlation coefficient, unless I'm dreaming, I'm seeing something there, and definitely had some rotation. So we have to keep a very close eye on that. Just
Yeah, that is really close in terms of
yeah,
being in the right spot. Obviously, the scans can be at different times, but folks, even if you're in Clinton or Canal Fulton, you are close enough to the polygon that I would still just kind of be in that safe place. I know you're under a severe thunderstorm warning. It is not tagged tornado possible right now, but folks, you've got to be in that safe place. With this line this evening, we've been telling you to get indoors, stay away from windows. We've had wind-driven hail with busted car windows, torn window screens off. We had an update now in Van Wert County. 2 people were injured, one of which was critical. A little earlier this evening up in Van Wert County. So I can't stress enough. Things have happened tonight. Get indoors, seek shelter, and don't come out. Just stay in there until these storms pass by. Even if your warning is only for 60-mile-per-hour winds, just stay indoors. Let these storms come through. There are pockets within this line that are stronger than the line itself. So if you happen to be in one of those random pockets, you're going to be the one that gets hit the hardest. So just kind of keep that in mind as we continue to move on through. So go
yeah.
ahead. You got something else?
I just still am focused in on Clinton there.
Yeah.
So just crossing out of that polygon. So again, you got to treat this if you're near the polygon, as well. So I would say, hey, in Clinton and Canal Fulton, in those areas, just get to the tornado safe shelter. No harm in doing that. Very, very brief. The latest scan just came in. Correlation coefficient has subsided, but we're still seeing some gate-to-gate stuff that is a little bit weaker than it was, but still starting to see that classic, kind of that hook. I wouldn't say classic hook, but still starting to see it hook a little bit there between Marshallville and Clinton. I'll be curious to see if they do issue a new warning. Kind of waiting to see there on that one as well.
Yeah, I think Mark and Tyler and Brant are all kind of right there with you. We may see a new tornado warning coming soon at any time now. Was kind of looking from the terminal Doppler in Cleveland, also kind of showing, right there on the edge of the polygon, folks. It is time. Northwestern Stark County, Massillon, Canal Fulton, Clinton. I would just be ready to go. Just be indoors at the very least and be away from windows. We'll wait and see what the Weather Service is going to do here. If they elect to issue a new warning or not. Nothing from them yet. So we're kind of watching
New tornado warning.
New tornado warning. Yep, there it is.
Dark
now.
and Wayne.
Yep, so you guys were right on that. So a new tornado warning now for Orrville, Brewster, Massillon. Be in that tornado safe place now. And again, that's get yourself below ground, put as many walls between you and the outside as possible, and just kind of hang tight there until this thing passes. It's going to be several minutes here before this kind of gets going. And do we have another new warning somewhere too?
No, that's just my phone going ballistic.
I got you. Okay,
just to get your attention. Yeah. Tornado warning. Sure. Yeah. So the tornado warning again. If you're in the tornado warning, you need to seek shelter. National Weather Service stated that the winds have subsided just a little bit there in Delaware County. They've downgraded it to considerable damage instead of destructive, which has weakened just a little bit. However, I can tell you, kind of looking here too, keeping my eyes on Dublin and Hilliard in that particular area, starting to see some inflow notches create there, and not necessarily tight rotation yet, but just keeping our eye on that. That's something I got flagged here for me to consider, to keep considering here. But we also have a severe thunderstorm warning that's for you over in Miami County, 1 inch hail, very possible there. We're starting to see some inflow stuff going on there as well. So we're keeping an eye on that as well. And then obviously in Delaware County, portions of Morrow County, we can see some considerable damaging winds in excess of 70 miles an hour. But that new tornado warning now includes the cities of Orrville and Massillon and Brewster. That tornado warning goes until 9:15. So for southwestern Stark County and east central Wayne County, it's located right near Orrville, 13 miles east of Worcester, and it's radar indicated at this point. So make sure that you are getting to the lowest level of your house. Put as many walls between you and outside as possible. Cover your neck and head. If you're in a mobile home, get out of the mobile home. Get into a sturdy structure, tornado-safe shelter. If you're in a car, get out of the car, get to a sturdy structure. All these things that you need to be doing, and just common sense stuff that you probably know before now that we're continuing to look at. So, again, tornado warning there, the new one that they'd issued, just kind of crossed out of the first polygon, so I wouldn't be surprised here. That one only has another 5 minutes or so anyway on it. But we're starting to see that classic kind of that inflow notch right near Orville. So you need to be seeking shelter at this time, Nick.
Yeah, and real quick too, something I want to point out: the city of Canton, the downtown middle area of Canton. There we go. I'll get it out one of these days. You are not in the polygon. You see that flashing red and black box? That is the tornado warning polygon. So it does not include the center of Canton. But if you are west of Canton and you have a Canton address and you have our weather app, or if you have your wireless emergency alerts on your phone, you likely got a notification. If you got a notification, then you are in the polygon. Our app is polygon based. So if you are in the polygon, you will get the warning. And if you're not, then you won't. Now, it's not to mention that there may be sirens going off in Hartville, in Alliance, in Waynesburg, and Beach City, but you're not under that tornado warning as it stands. So just something else to keep in mind. Right now, the strongest part of that storm is over Orville. Moving southeast, it's going to cross US 30 right there at the Wayne and Stark County line here in just a few minutes. So just be in that safe place and just let this storm pass by. Be in that tornado safe place. If you're in a mobile home, maybe try to find a more substantial shelter if you can. If you can't, then we just ask you to hunker down and do the best that you possibly can until this storm passes you. Let's go back over to velocity real quick and kind of show you, again, it's right on the leading edge of this line. And sometimes these MCS type structures or these mesoscale convective systems, they can do these kind of things. You can get a brief tornado. Looks like I may have just gotten a report of some further damage coming in here out of the Miami Valley, and well, no, it's just some strong winds. So we're watching this very closely again, moving southeast. Let's look at the terminal Doppler from Cleveland, also showing us a pretty decent looking inflow notch. Maybe not as tight as it once was 10 or 20 minutes ago, but it's still there. That's the key. So we need you to be in that safe place. But again, the city of Canton, not under the tornado warning unless you are west of town and you have a Canton address. I know that's, a very populated area there, and so we're watching. And also down all the way down to northern Tuscarawas County, already seeing severe thunderstorm warnings there north of New Philly. So Weather Service not messing around tonight. And also seeing, Tyler just kind of pointed this out too, some new storms developing down towards Wilmington, want to kind of keep our eyes on. And also that one in Miami County really starting to pique my interest for hail. Once again there in the Piqua area, down there into the Troy area as well. So we'll have to watch those over the next several minutes. Report of 55 mile per hour winds in Delaware at the Azaz station. Of course, that is actually south of where the strong winds were. So perhaps maybe not overly hard to believe, but I wouldn't be surprised if we start getting some reports of much higher winds than that based on what we were seeing on velocity. And Owen, I think you would tend to agree with me on that.
Yeah, absolutely. And also some inflow stuff going on there too that we're looking at there in Troy and Miami County that we're keeping an eye on. But yeah, definitely pulling that hail marker. The tornado warning expired for Wayne County. But also, yeah, some very deep purples there for that that storm that is near Troy, just north of Troy, south of Piqua there. Getting reports coming in of a lot of damage on Route 23. So I wouldn't be surprised there. Delaware.
I was wondering when we were going to start getting that. So, folks, I would just kind of say now, if you are trying to go north or south on 23 in Delaware County, I would just wait. We're getting now some pretty decent reports. A lot of damage on US 23 going through Delaware. And I would venture to think they're probably going to have to do a survey in that spot, even if it's just for a microburst or something of that nature. Those winds were really, really intense.
Oh, yeah, I would totally agree that they're probably going to do a survey there tomorrow just to see what was going on, especially some of those areas that were showing some other returns moving away from the radar site. But just to kind of get just for research purposes and continuing to understand what this does at 80 miles an hour or 90 miles an hour. We don't normally see that, terminal radar showing 95-ish miles an hour.
Yeah.
We normally don't see that very often in Ohio at all. So very, very interesting to say the least. We are keeping an eye on, I will say this, Nick, on the backside there, I'll get it out, near Plain City, just south of Plain City. We're looking at that area as well for some broad rotation. Not very tight right now. It's kind of messy, but keep an eye on that. Again, I keep looking there near West Jefferson and south of Plain City, north of West Jefferson. So we're keeping an eye on that as well. for some rotation as we continue to look at that. Don't want to forget about our tornado warning though as well. A tornado warning again continues here as we're looking at southwestern Stark County and east central Wayne County until 9:15. There's still an inflow notch.
Yeah,
Again, not as
that terminal Doppler shows it. It's not necessarily the strongest,
right.
but you can trace. In fact, I'll trace it out here on the stream for you, so you can see it's one of the beautiful features of this one radar software I have. But you can kind of see where this line goes kink in, and then kind of kinks back out again. It's in that spot right there on the Wayne Stark County line, just to the north of US 30, where I said it was about to cross. That's where we're seeing that little bit of an inflow notch. And again, I'm actually going to redraw that. That was a really poor drawing. But as you kind of see right in there, where it kind of kinks in and back out. It's that inflow notch right there, okay? That's where we could be seeing a brief tornado. May not be long-lasting, may not be one at all. But we still want you to be in that safe place just to be on the safe side as things stand right now. So that's the latest radar signature there. And as Owen likes to call that sometimes, a little phalange. All it takes is just a little bit of a nudge there, and you can get a brief spin up. And I don't necessarily want to call it a spin, but you can get a brief tornado at any given time when you have a little signature like that. And it's not the most well-defined signature that we've ever seen in the Buckeye State. And I will say that part of the line is really holding together well. As you go further east towards Youngstown, that's maybe not holding together as well. But this spot here, Southern Summit, Northwestern Stark, Eastern Wayne, really holding together very well.
Yeah, boy, I just keep looking here at some stuff from Delaware and Delaware County, and our thoughts are with you on that. We're still seeing some of the damage come through. Real quick, while we have just a quick second here, I know we got the tornado warning. If you don't have an app, you can download our app, the Bell Park Weather Network app. You can download that from the App Store or Play Store. Has lightning alerts, hail alerts, obviously the warnings. So lots of good things there, and you can track the storms with us. And also the nice thing too is you can share your photos with us, and it helps us out, especially if you share some of those photos with us through the app, because it geotags where they're from. So that's kind of nice there. So make sure that you download that and use that app. It's free to you. We put a lot of effort, energy, money into that app. So, and again, it's for you to use, as we're the nonprofit, and we don't make money in this by any stretch at all. So we don't even pay ourselves. So it's kind of a shameless plug there. If you want to download the app, it helps us continue to do what we do with some of the advertising and things. So continue to consider that as well. Looking at the tornado warning, definitely still, like we were just talking about, that phalange. You can kind of see that still there. So for good measure, the tornado warning was issued. And I can tell you, it would be very interesting to see tomorrow if they survey or there was any damage in that particular area where we started to see correlation coefficient show some damage possible there. So we'll have to see that. So coming into, and I know, Nick, we need to talk about here, and I'm going to toss this to you for just a second. I'm going to go grab a drink of water, but I'm going to toss this to you and talk about, hey, Columbus and Columbus Metro.
Yeah.
You got a new warning, so I'm going to let you take it right now.
All right, so we have a new severe thunderstorm warning now for Fairfield, Franklin, and Licking County. This is going to be kind of the airport area, so to speak, and also up through Worthington, Westerville, back into Pataskala, Baltimore. We're seeing this severe thunderstorm warning here for winds up to 60 miles per hour. Understand that this is part of a line of storms that has a history of producing widespread wind damage in Delaware County, so we need to be aware of that. Also into Miami County now, hail increased to $half size and 1 1/4 inches in diameter. So those of you in Piqua, Troy, over to the north of Tip City, north of Vandalia, you've got to be indoors and away from windows until this storm passes. You're hearing some of the thunder here in the background on the south side of Columbus, where we're kind of under a warning right now, but we're just kind of on the edge of one the way it stands right now. So we're kind of watching things very, very closely for you here this evening. Again, we also have numerous severe thunderstorm warnings around central Ohio, Morrow, Knox County, Delaware County, Licking County, Union, Madison, Franklin County. So these areas, you're seeing a pretty decent line of storms taking shape here, working its way to the east-southeast. Also watching Clinton County. We are seeing more storms firing up there, looking rather intense, so we could see a new warning required for Greene or Clinton County here shortly. Moving you back to the northeast, where we do have an active tornado warning. Again, does not include the city of Canton, but it does include western Stark County down through Brewster, includes Massillon, Dalton, and Orville as you get back into eastern Wayne County. And again, we continue to monitor this very closely here this evening. And let's see here. Let's see if I can get Zach on with us as well. So we'll kind of watch things there and see if we can kind of. Sometimes it's good to have a third person in. Sometimes catching things that we may not see. But again, we're tracking that active tornado warning there. Still seeing at least some signs of rotation. But I will say there's some other rain kind of developing just to the south of it. So I think that might cut off the inflow. And if that's the case, then we would likely lose that tornado warning. So also the Weather Service in Wilmington is about to include. They're going to expand the existing watch that was in effect until 11 p.m. So you're going to see that issued for portions of south central Ohio, so Fayette, Pickaway, Fairfield in particular. Also, tornado warning continuing until 9:15 for Wayne and Stark County. Again, it's capable of producing a tornado. Dugouts are also flooded right now as well near Akron. Mike also sent a picture of his parents' house at Brookville Park. Did not look good. I also saw a report of a car inundated in northern Summit County. Route 8 is closed. I'm surprised there's not a flash flood warning there. 3 inches of rain in 1 hour also reported in Seven Hills in Cuyahoga County, and also a record-breaking rainfall event in Fort Wayne for today. Broke the daily record for most rainfall in a single day on this particular day, that is. So we're watching that very closely as well, and also seeing some pretty good wind spikes on the velocity in southern portions of Portage County and northeastern Stark County around Limaville and Alliance. So I'm watching those areas too really, really closely just to kind of watch and see what happens with that. So not necessarily seeing much in reflectivity, but hey, the reflectivity does not necessarily always have to be the most impressive looking signature to get any kind of wind damage. So we're watching that, but now really kind of watching the Columbus metro area, and really my eyes are also on this storm popping up here in Wilmington, really starting to take a nice structure to it, crossing up I-71 there towards Bowersville. I know this area was just hit pretty hard Monday night, and so now you guys have more storms coming in, not currently under a warning there, but we're going to have to watch that closely and see what ends up happening there. So,
do you not have the tornado warning on?
Yes.
I didn't see it. I was just when I was looking at the stream.
Yeah, the ticker's going every 3 minutes because of the number of warnings, so it might be taking.
No, I was wondering on the actual polygon. I didn't see that.
Oh, yeah, I got it red and black to kind of differentiate itself a little bit.
All right. A couple things here too, Nick, that I've just stumbled across. So from ODOT, per ODOT, on State Route 4, just north of Marysville, debris on the roadway and the road's closed.
Okay.
So they're saying that just north of Marysville and now south of Marysville. So if we're looking here on what do we got here? State Route 38 northbound, there's debris on the roadway, and that is also now closed. So we're starting to see some debris reports come in from ODOT. We're starting to find those, and I wouldn't be surprised here if we see more for portions of Delaware County as well, because that's that was some very destructive winds that had gone through basically the central portion of Delaware County. Tornado warning does remain active here for us, so if you're anywhere in that tornado warned area, portions of Massillon, Navarre, Brewster, Dalton, you need to make sure you're seeking shelter. We got an update on this here just a couple of minutes ago. They're stating that it's near Dalton, 13 miles west of Canton, moving east at 30 miles an hour. Again, make sure, and this is radar indicated, which is a good thing. We're not seeing anything confirmed, and it is starting to fan out a little bit, which is a good sign as well. So it's starting to weaken, but do need to make sure you respect that polygon, get to the lowest level of your house, put as many walls between you and the outside as possible, cover your neck and head, maybe use a bicycle helmet, whatever you need to do, and make sure you continue that. And we're going to continue to do some coverage here for you. I know Nick is getting gunned up here. I got some water and a pound of Skittles, so we're ready to roll.
All right, well, that sounds good. I'm working on getting Zach in here, and once he's on, I'll probably step away for a few minutes to get some water myself, and we're going to keep plugging away here because we've got some pretty active storms continuing. If you're just now tuning in here this evening, and maybe Adriana wants to join us as well, possibly, we're watching that, and Tyler's also noticing the area just north of Dayton starting to show some rotation there in Miami County, so we'll have to watch that for Possibly a new tornado warning required there. We still have the one here for eastern Wayne and western Stark County. So, kind of two areas in particular. Number one is obviously northeast Ohio, Akron, Canton, Youngstown, down to Libsyn, Salem, over to Worcester. That line continued to push off towards the southeast. And then area number two, which I think to me is a little stronger, across central Ohio back into the Miami Valley. So, we're watching this very closely for you this evening. Numerous severe thunderstorm warnings, and again, that severe thunderstorm watch will be expanded southward. The original one that was in effect until 11 p.m. tonight. We'll see when they're going to do that, but we will see that issued here in just a little bit. As Owen said, they continue that tornado warning and also getting lots of wind damage reports out of Ken's area as well in northwestern PA. In fact, let's check power outages now. At this point, we're at 55,000. Geauga County is at 5,000, so is Lake County. Cuyahoga County is at 28,000. Logan County 2,600. Union and Delaware have not really reporting much, but I suspect that to change here pretty shortly. And it looks like now Zach has joined us. And Zach, I know you were out and about a little earlier today, but I'm going to let you and Owen run the show here for just a few minutes. And we've got the one active tornado where I'm just going to kind of leave the radar up and I'll put it into motion. And I'll let you guys kind of re-rack the warnings as they stand. Obviously, we're also kind of watching Miami County here too. And we'll kind of let you guys take it away for just a few minutes.
Well, good evening to you, Zach. And one thing I wanted to ask you, are we allowed to call you meteorologist yet?
Not yet. Not technically for like another 3-ish weeks, give or take.
Okay. Well, anyway, you're our meteorologist, so we're going to consider
Close
it.
enough.
So congratulations. We're proud of you on that. And
Thank you.
he's just getting ready to complete his coursework and degree. So we're going to be proud to announce that. And we're proud of him of doing that. I know Tyler is right behind you there. So he's going to be getting closer and closer. And we're just excited for you guys and pursuing your passion. So, Zach, what do you got? Give us kind of that summation. Give us that 10,000 foot view, because you've kind of been seeing and monitoring things. We've kind of been micro focused on things. So kind of give us that 10,000 foot view.
Yeah. So essentially, from onset, we saw the line initially develop in Michigan. The better ingredients were definitely across Ohio, and it looked like they were across northern Ohio for most of the day. Things struggled to get going in northwest Ohio, but eastern Indiana, they really got going, which is the stuff we're seeing move through Columbus and the Miami Valley right now. And then the stuff that kind of crossed southern lower Michigan moved out across the lake, and that's eastern Ohio right now. I am a little bit not surprised, but impressed that things are kind of holding together as well as they are, as far as they've gotten. There was definitely plenty of energy, but as you move, realistically about south of I-70, which is where the storms are kind of approaching now, the shear in the atmosphere definitely is a little bit less, and the overall instability is a little bit less. So I do expect these to kind of start to weaken as they move south, but they've kind of, as they've been traveling, made their own environment. So I think that's part of the reason they've been able to hold together as well as they have, and even pick up strength as they move through the central part of the state. Some really impressive wind gusts out of there, especially Delaware County.
Yeah, and Zach, I mean, that we don't see that very often in Ohio. Just to kind of quickly give everybody an update here, they did continue the tornado warning for Stark County until 9:15. They're still watching that. We don't want to take away from that at all. It's very broad rotation now, but it's there still just enough. So we need to make sure we're respecting that. So again, if you're in that tornado warning for Stark County, that goes until 9:15 for you. Just south of Massillon, maybe getting some of the Massillon addresses on the south side. But again, until 9:15, make sure you get into the lowest level of your house and put as many walls between you and the outside as possible. But one of the things too, as we continue to watch this continue, Zach, you can kind of hit on a little bit. We're losing, hopefully, the sun's starting to set. Hopefully, we lose some of that heating element, and hopefully things start to calm down. And we're kind of expected. We expected maybe a little bit more intense storms here in Northwest Ohio. But the good thing is they didn't hit as bad as we thought in Northwest Ohio. But still, we go down to that destructive type warning that we're very concerned with. And now also too, Zach, they're saying here storms around Clinton County showing signs of very strong winds and hail. So we're looking at that as well down in Clinton County.
Yeah, and of course that cell down there is kind of all by itself, just kind of hanging out. So not really much competing with it to take its energy away. So I expect that storm to hang around for a while and probably continue to strengthen realistically.
Right.
Just looking at some of the data from the Storm Prediction Center. There's even Southwest Ohio, even right where
Mhm.
that storm is. It's kind of on a tongue of realistically 3,000 joules per kilogram at Cape. So there's plenty of energy even in Southwest Ohio at this point.
Yeah, we don't see that. So I know we have a lot of people watch us from Washington Courthouse. So yeah, basically, pretty much the town or the city of Washington Courthouse is under portions of it, I should say, are under a severe thunderstorm warning. So the warning just came out on that one, and that is for Western Fayette County, Clinton County, and Southeastern Greene County until 9:45. So keep in mind with that as well as I choke on the skittle. Keep in mind on that as well very strong winds with that particular storm cell too. It's kind of just been sitting there, kind of doing its own thing down there, and now it's intensified, um, which is nice for us. But Delaware County, we're starting to see more power outages come in on that particular storm. What else do we got going on here? We're starting to see a plethora of damage reports come in as well. But as this pushes down into the Mid Ohio Valley, as Zach pointed out, we're hoping that we're going to start to see it die down just a little bit. We're losing the diurnal heating, and another thing too that we have to keep in mind too, Zach, that we're seeing is we're not seeing the amount of hail that we were seeing earlier, but we're starting to see a lot of heavy rainfall, especially coming into the Columbus metro area.
Oh yeah, definitely. You probably felt it if you walked outside today. The moisture in the atmosphere, there's definitely plenty of it. These rain or storms are just dumping rain. So definitely look out for street flooding, especially the urban areas. Uh, Flooding today is driven by just how fast the rain is coming down. It's not necessarily that the ground is wet. Realistically, the ground in most places is fairly dry. So flooding outside of the urban area shouldn't be too big of a deal. Outside of normal ponding areas and that kind of stuff, but definitely in town because the rain is coming down so hard and so fast. Definitely surprised we don't see kind of more flood advisories or flood warnings than we have
Yeah,
currently.
I think you'll start to maybe see more and more of them. I think they kind of get caught up in the warnings and they forget about them, to be honest. But I see Nick is back. I can see his shining face there.
Yeah, how about
I
that?
got some,
And I
hopefully, a drink of water, and
yeah,
I don't know
I
if your
wanted to
audio's
say
on,
that
but got a drink of water there, and
yeah.
hopefully you're back. You're about Nick. Check your audio. I don't hear you,
Oh,
but I
oh.
think you're about getting ready to get rocked here, where you're at in the south side of Columbus.
Yeah, and I just wanted to say it looks like Zach's a very popular person in Ohio. A couple of folks are glad to see him on. So, Zach, you got some
Hey,
popularity.
Zach's got it going on, man.
He
He can give
does.
me free Wi-Fi. That's what I like. So no,
All right,
but
so let's kind of
we're 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 we're
hop into
proud of
things
Zach.
here
I
a
mean,
little
he
bit.
pushed through and got the degree, and as long as
Yeah.
you don't flunk your finals, we'll be fine.
If I do
Yeah.
that, I quit and you'll never see me again.
Yeah, don't do that.
Yeah,
So
we
we,
don't want
we're
you
we're
doing
very
that.
proud
So,
of him.
yeah, let's kind of zoom into the Columbus Metro. And Owen, I don't know if you caught my message there. If you could work on a backup just in case. I think I'll be fine, but just in the event that I lose power here, just kind of wanting you guys to get updated here in the Columbus Metro area. We are seeing buckets and buckets of rain. Just saw a comment of some hail over in the Westerville area. We do have a severe thunderstorm warning here for hail up to penny size and also up to quarter size. So could be seeing some more of that as we continue to move on through the rest of our evening here. Some smaller hail, but really the wind and the rain are probably going to be the two biggest things. We were watching that, and Tyler just informing us that the Fayette County Fair is going on. Bad timing there, and there is a pretty healthy looking thunderstorm there. Zach, I'm sure you may have already talked about that one, but folks out at the fair probably need to be getting out of the fair and finding more substantial shelter at this point.
Yeah, definitely. It's fair season all across the state. Uh, Most people at that point are away from their warning sources, whether it be TV, radio, whatever. So we hope kind of the fairgrounds there is aware of what's going on, was able to warn people, and then people hopefully still have their phones handy, so they get warnings that way. But those can turn into kind of nightmare scenarios real fast, as with the strong winds that we've got coming through.
Yeah, most certainly. So, kind of watching that Fayette County area there very closely, and also all of our warnings are scrolling at the bottom of your screen there on our ticker. Again, the Columbus area getting hit very hard right now, especially just along and north of I-70. I would not recommend driving at this point if you happen to be out and about. Gahanna, Westerville, Hilliard. You're talking about Upper Arlington, Grandview Heights, Clintonville, over to near Bexley, New Albany. Those areas definitely getting hit very hard right now with some of the strongest very heavy rainfall and even the potential for some smaller hail. Let's go over to the terminal Doppler look at velocity because, again, earlier, Delaware County just absolutely got hit very hard. And again, just to relay some reports, there are numerous reports along US 23 of wind damage, so I would strongly advise that you avoid that area and let crews get that cleaned up as soon as they possibly can. But we're seeing a pretty good increase in lightning here around the Columbus metro as well. Would anticipate we'll probably see some new severe thunderstorm warnings, mainly for wind, coming up here shortly. So we'll be watching that here for you as we continue to kind of progress on through. The good news is I don't see any more considerable warnings, which is 70 plus, and I certainly don't see any destructive warnings, but I think the strongest storms that we have on the radar right now, obviously over Wilmington moving into Fayette County, through Columbus, another pretty healthy area there as well. And we are continuing to monitor areas up in northeast Ohio as well. We still have an active tornado warning until 9:15 for Western Stark. But, Zach, that one looks like it continues to fall apart, at least relatively slowly here.
Yeah, definitely. It's starting to really gust itself out, essentially. There's a lot of rain that's kind of developed ahead of the line. So as the meaty part of the line moves into that cooler atmosphere, it's just kind of causing itself to weaken there, which overall is a good thing. So,
yeah, most certainly. We get these tornado warnings out of here. It'll make everybody's evening a lot better. So, and I do believe they did. Okay, so they did expand the watch down one tier of counties in the Columbus metro area, in particular Fayette, Pickaway, and Fairfield. We might see that expanded again for Clinton, Butler, and Warren, seeing as how we have storms forming in the Wilmington area at this point in time. But I will say that the strongest storms right now are east of 75. If you're west of 75, your severe threat is kind of dying out relatively quickly for us this evening. If you're east of 75 and north of 50 for the time being, your severe threat's still kind of ongoing for us. And real quick, just to touch base on our friends across northwestern PA, this is where we have seen a relatively marketed increase in wind damage reports coming in out of places like Venango County, Mercer County. We're seeing a couple other reports as well up towards Warren with trees down, lots of trees down, power lines down. Just it's a mess. So if you come across down lines, please remember to turn around. Do not cross them because you don't know if they are live lines or not. So we're continuing to monitor that very closely. Again, if you come across down trees and down lines, just avoid the area. Let the professionals, let the professionals handle that and let them get that cleared up out there for us. Okay, don't be out there putting yourself in danger. You just don't know what you're going to come across. So same advice with flooded roadways. We tell you turn around, don't drown. Do the same process here if you come across down trees and power lines for us. So Zach, again, I do think we are seeing kind of an overall weakening trend in
the tornado warning's gone.
Okay, tornado warning's gone. That's good. So we're now tornado warning free, and Zach was just going to kind of give you a little bit of a chance to kind of update some of your fans that appear to be happy to see you there in Stark County. Are you hearing anything from anybody over there?
Nothing so far. Let me double check. As far as I know, it's just been pretty windy. A lot of lightning and thunder, but I haven't seen any reports of anything crazy. The bulk of it, at least the bulk of the wind is probably through for the most part. Canton, North Canton. Someone did mention the sirens are going off in North Canton. Obviously, like Owen said, the tornado warning is gone, so the sirens definitely shouldn't be going off at this point. But the sirens were set off for the warning that was southwest of Canton. So North Canton, no danger really of any tornado there, just strong winds, heavy rain, and a lot of lightning. That is pushing through pretty quick, so probably the next 15, 20 minutes, things should really start to calm down.
Yeah, they most certainly should. And there's the kind of a little bit of a better look at the lightning for you so you can kind of see what's been going on out there right now. You can see a pretty good amount of lightning here and also into the Columbus metro area. Weather Service mentioning that we are seeing at least a little bit of an increase in activity, but the overall decrease in severity continues, although I am seeing some hail starting to pop up around West Jeff, just the northeast of there. We're watching that. And also Tyler mentioning some broad rotation in Clinton County. We can go take a quick look at that. Yeah, I'm seeing that just a little bit there as well. Actually, yeah, that is maybe a downburst ongoing there too, because remember, our greens are moving toward the radar and our reds are moving away. But either way, a pretty nasty looking storm there, pretty much right outside the Wilmington office. We've all been there. Very nice place to visit. And again, we're also kind of watching that as well. Yeah, only a couple hundred feet off the ground. It's a good point. And two, I'm also kind of noticing, Zach and Owen, if you guys, I don't know if you're kind of seeing this too, but that Clinton County storm kind of seems to be splitting a little bit. We saw this earlier up in the Wapak area. The northern storm kind of became a predominant hailstorm for a while, and the southern storm kind of just lingered. So let's kind of watch and see what happens with that over the next few scans.
Yeah, it's interesting that it's kind of moving northeast, while the rest of the line to its north is moving southeast. It'll be interesting to see what happens when those eventually collide. Sometimes that can lead to a little bit of enhanced rotation as those cells kind of run into each other. So if it runs into the line while it's still got some steam, it'll be worth watching.
Yeah, for sure. Just kind of looking at some updated warnings here. They've allowed the warning for Delaware and Licking County to expire. Warning continues for 60-mile-per-hour wind and 1-inch hail for Clinton, Fayette, and Greene. That continues until 9:45. The warning for Miami County is gone. Warning for Franklin County has now been allowed to expire, although seeing some pretty healthy rain and thunder and lightning in that, so I imagine we'll see a special weather statement issued for that shortly. I would expect 40 to 50 mile per hour winds, a pretty good downpour, lots of lightning. In fact, I'm just getting a constant roll of thunder here now. So we're kind of keeping an eye on that here on the south end of Columbus. Knox County, this warning for all intents and purposes should be gone. Not seeing much in the way of any activity there. And then kind of back over here into northeastern Ohio, northwestern PA, continuing to see a slew of warnings around Clarion, south of Oil City to Grove City, Pennsylvania, that is. Kind of continue to monitor that as well. Yeah, that line there kind of on the Ohio-Pennsylvania border and east, this is holding together very nicely. So if you know anybody heading towards downtown Pittsburgh, going to get hit pretty good there as well. But these are all baseline warnings, right? We're not seeing, we've only got one considerable warning left, and that's for Stark and Mahoning County for winds up to 70. So Youngstown to about Canal Fulton and points south. Continue to kind of monitor that as well. Thunderstorm warning for Knox is gone. New severe thunderstorm warning here for Columbiana County and also into PA there as well. That's not surprising whatsoever. And let's see if that's the one that we just talked about there. So that'll be kind of south of Lisbon. Kind of surprised that they didn't include any West Virginia counties on that. Okay, I'm interested to see what that polygon looks like here shortly when that does indeed finally come out. And look at your velocity right now. Looking from the Pittsburgh radar, the strongest winds are in eastern Stark County. Let's go over to the alias velocity. You can kind of see these brighter blues here in between Alliance and Canton. Seeing a pretty good return of some brighter whites and blues there. Not as strong as Delaware County. That was really intense. And Owen, I'll let you, have you heard anything else from Delaware County? I've not seen anything in quite a while. It does concern me just a little bit, but have not seen a ton from that area.
No, I'm not either, Nick, at this particular moment in time. I know that just north of Delaware, kind of looking at some traffic patterns and maps, it looks like we got a little bit of slowdown near Delaware State Park in that particular area. So probably seeing some trees down in that area, a little bit of a slowdown there. But so we move south of there, south of Delaware, we're not seeing hardly any slowdowns there on the roadways. But we still have some other areas there over on State Route 4. They're still saying that's indicated to be closed in both directions.
Okay.
At mile marker, what is that, 18.6? Debris on the roadway. So we have to keep an eye on that if you're in Marysville. Let's see. Kind of updating here a little bit on the power outage side. Let's take a look at that. Delaware County, not Franklin County. Delaware County is starting to pop up with some power outages now. They're currently tracking about 2,600. Over in Logan County, that's down to 859, so that's substantially improved. Crawford County is at 349. Ottawa County, 472. Let's get our eyes on the Medina area, 2,200 people. Cuyahoga County, 28,000 people without power in Cuyahoga County right now. Lake County, 5,000 people without power. 5,000 without power in Geauga County, and about 2,600 in Ashtabula County. So by far, those winds that come in over the lake earlier, Cuyahoga County, 28,000 people without power right now, and obviously in Delaware, probably that number is not as accurate as it will be here in a little bit. It takes a little bit for it to catch up, but we're starting to see that as well. We're also starting to see some. Oh, well, I don't know. We're starting to see some phalanges, if you will, kind of looking there. I continue to look there near Madison and London, and keeping my eye on there near Big Plain. So kind of by you, Nick. Got some phalanges there. We'll have to keep a little eye on what's going on there as it continues to move forward. Thank you for the stars, by the way, Carrie Ann. Appreciate it. That's one way to donate to us as well. So the tornado threat has pretty much it's subsided for now. And again, I'll kind of defer down to Zach. I don't think we're going to see much of the way of a tornado threat this evening or the rest of this evening. But again, you never know. You might see one or two pop-ups here as the sun is officially set and we're past civil twilight.
Yeah, obviously with any storms out there, you can never, say the chance is completely zero. But definitely the storms at this point are outrunning the better, upper air dynamics, so the better shear, which is kind of why we're seeing them weaken in general. But the chance of a tornado is not zero, but it is getting lower every minute.
Yeah, I appreciate those updates too. And real quick, somebody commented that there was a funnel cloud spotted just in Navarre. I'm not sure exactly where that is at, but needless to say, I wouldn't be totally surprised necessarily if that maybe was some scud or something along those lines. But it's kind of getting you up to date now. We'll start back in the Miami Valley, even though there's no warnings back here, and kind of work our way east.
That's Stark County, just for the record.
Stark County. Okay, good to know. Watching a pretty strong storm to the northwest of Dayton around Lewisburg. Again, you guys just got hit really hard with some large hail on Monday night. Storm is not currently warned, but they'll be heading towards Vandalia and the Dayton International Airport and also into downtown Dayton shortly. We have an ongoing warning as well down here into Clinton and Fayette County. More of a hail threat in here, in my opinion, but there's a solid amount of lightning on those two storms. Working into the Columbus metro area, some very heavy rain has started falling here at my house. And again, kind of that constant roar, still kind of continuing a good amount of lightning with these storms as it continues to move on through. There is still a warning until 9:30 for northeastern Franklin, southwestern Licking County, and northern portions of Fairfield County. But I really think we're seeing an overall weakening trend there as well. The outflow boundary is pushing a good ways in advance of these storms. We're not seeing the severity that we once were, thankfully. And then into northeastern Ohio, we are seeing even a bit of a decline in intensity here as well. A severe thunderstorm warning for northern Tuscarawas, northern Carroll, and most of Columbiana until 9:45. But really, I think Tuscarawas County, the worst of that, will probably pass to your northeast. And as you can see, they're Canton getting hit pretty good at the present moment. Let's see. Jacob says there was some hail on Interstate 70 heading southeast toward Columbus. Not surprising. Not large hail, thankfully. Look at Zach answering comments and talking, multitasking. Love that. So outside of that, I think we can kind of start to wrap things up, at least for the time being. We've been on for about 3 hours or so this evening, kind of keeping you up to date on what is going on across the area. Not seeing any additional reports of anything. No new warnings at this point in time. Looks like they're even going to go ahead and probably drop the warning for Clinton and Fayette soon, as they are electing to issue just a special weather statement at this particular point in time. So, Owen or Zach, do you guys have anything else you'd like to add in for now? If we can kind of take a little bit of a break and kind of reset some things, and if we need to come back, we will. But overall, things seem definitely to be kind of downtrending, at least for a good portion of us.
Download our app. That's the best thing I can say. Download our app.
Very good advice.
I second that.
Very good advice. Okay. Well, that keeps the wrap up relatively simple there for us. So, again, here this evening, we still have severe thunderstorm watch until we'll kind of recap the watches for you. Recap the SPC outlook, and then we'll wrap things up. So, severe thunderstorm watch until 3 a.m. for far eastern Ohio. I promise you it'll be out of there before 3 a.m. It goes until 11 p.m. along the I-70 corridor. Not likely to see a new watch issued south of that. I would be really surprised if they did. Union and Delaware counties, we have some road closures due to debris in the roadway, so please avoid those areas. We've had numerous reports of trees down and flooded roadways in northeast Ohio as well. Again, avoid any areas where water covers the roadway, especially now it's nighttime. You can't see how deep the water is. Just don't try it. Our app name is Bell Park Weather Network. You can download it for free in the App Store. Google and Apple are free. We put, as Owen said, a lot of money and time into that to help keep that free for you. So please utilize it to your advantage. It looks like a lot of folks utilize that and love it very much, so we appreciate that. Just make sure you download that, stay informed. You can track the storms as they're coming to you. You'll get notified as lightning and other rain and storms and other things approach your area this evening. So for that, we're going to wrap things up here this evening. We'll come back live as necessary. Otherwise, we'll start recapping our event here, look at some photos, and we'll be waiting for some surveys and things of that nature to come out as well. So for our entire team here at Bell Park Weather Network, have a good night, everybody. Stay safe out there, and when thunder roars, be sure you go indoors.